We're live.
We
Good
are
morning.
here. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We got ROBNESS. What's up, ROBNESS?
Jesse, good to
Big
see you, man.
day.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So happy that you're here, man. Like, so
No,
happy
thanks,
to have
man.
you. Like, so we're honored, honestly. Like, so stoked. So, I'm gonna dive right in because we have so much to talk about, I feel like, and we're both the type, or we've already found out that you get us two together and we could just talk forever and like just ramble at each other on and on.
Yeah.
So, so let's just get right into it. This popped to mind just yesterday. I remember, so Robness and I first met because we were both speaking on a panel at Noe House during Freeze Art Fair just a couple months ago, or like a month ago. We had a chance to talk that night, and then the following night was the exhibition was continuing to go on, and went and we chatted again and all that shit, and we got into it, and like just love your vibe and your brain, and just like we really, in my opinion, I couldn't have had a better experience of meeting an artist. Sometimes you meet people that you're a big fan of and they suck and it just ruins it all, but you were like the opposite. It made me like you more and make me like your work more. You did.
Yeah.
But so later that evening, I think it was the night, the second night, later that evening, I believe it was that evening. It might have been the evening after though, but I believe it was that evening. I saw a tweet from you that said something about there's like nothing better. I'm not gonna, it's not verbatim, but nothing better than like driving through the streets of, Hollywood, where listening to music that was created in this same place, blah, 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 like something like that. Right. And I was like, there was such a good vibe around that whole event and everything that I totally felt you. I was staying in Hollywood myself. I just felt that vibe. And I thought of that yesterday listening to Tupac, because I was like, Tupac sounds better down here, but it made me wonder, what were you listening to? And also because you're a native here, correct? You're a SoCal native.
Yeah.
So that can be the beginning of us diving into it here, is that you're a SoCal native and you have this relationship to music all your life. So can we get just a little bit of background about ROBNESS, let's say pre-NFTs, leading up to the craze? Like, what were you up to? What were you doing down here, et cetera?
Yeah. I mean, my life has been dominated by music primarily. I mean, visual and music, but music was taken up a lot. Guitar player that turned into, semi all right bass player. Then like guitar players, as they always do, they want to do everything. And so started learning how to like mix and master, then got into DJing and just kind of like started going after kind of everything. And then basically I was living in this actually you would have loved this place, Jesse, man. It's a place called Grooveworks, and it was in Torrance. And Torrance is like this huge city in LA that like nobody talks about, but like everybody has come from there. Like I always kind of like rep Torrance because it's hilarious. Like nobody wants to talk about it. But
yeah. If you live in LA and like you're not local or whatever, like there's not a lot of reasons to go to Torrance, it seems like, so it's almost like this black hole in the middle of all of like, we're going to go to Venice, we're going to go to Long Beach, we're going to go, and then like Torrance is just like nobody goes there.
Yeah. And there's nothing. I got fam there, but there's nothing really to say much about it except that it's just there. It's a city that does this thing. A lot of people come from there. But the building I was staying at, I was living in this like rehearsal lockout space. It was called Grooveworks, and it was like 2 stories. You pay rent there, you put your, all your equipment in there and stuff like that. And I just started living there. I mean, I made some friends there. I made friends with the manager. He's like, here, take the keys, just close up the place at 12 o'clock. And that was that. And so pretty much and that place was pretty much mine. And, and then, the rest of the people that were there, I mean, shoot, half the place people were either staying there or we just never talked about it, like nobody's staying there,
Yep, and, of course.
Yeah. And so, I stayed there for years off and on, to be honest. And I was just trying to do my music thing there. But on the side, I was doing, like canvas work, so I'd have like literally my room. If I was sharing it with somebody else or I have my own like private room, I have junk everywhere. Just whatever I felt like I needed to work on, I'd be working it there. And that's pretty much like my life before like the NFT stuff. And during that time, I was learning crypto too. So like around 2014.
Word.
All that shit was going on, and me just trying to, I'm learning Bitcoin and stuff on the side, and everybody else is calling me crazy, and then I'm still doing my music stuff and this and that, and I'd be doing canvas work on just during my breaks and stuff, and so for me it was kind of like a release almost, like the visual arts to me was something that I wasn't emotionally invested in. It was like something for me to like just get away from music because I was so stressed about it. I was like, just overthinking the whole freaking process. And I just started doing way more of it to the point where canvases were just lining up in my room. And if we threw parties and stuff, people would come in and they'd be looking around, and then they'd go to the pile of canvases that I'd have there, and they just look at it and pull one up. And I'm like, you like that piece? And they're like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, take it. Just
go run it. Yeah, of course. Yeah. What kind of stuff were you painting?
It was more just like abstract stuff, I was like right when I got into that stuff, I was doing just, I didn't even use a paintbrush. I used like paint removal knives from like Home Depot, which is kind of fun. Word. Yeah. And like one of my buddies, Matt, from a long time ago, man, he got me into painting because he just said something real simple. He says, you want to get drunk and paint in my garage? I'm like, let's do it. Let's go. And he broke me in, and I just loved it. And just kept going with it. And for me, I'm self-taught pretty much everything. So like self-taught guitar, self-taught any instrument that I touch, or self-taught engineering. I've never gone to school for anything. So for me, it's just like, I'm just going to do it myself. I don't give a fuck what everybody says. Just go for it. And then
I love how serious your response was. Yes, let's do that. Yes, like dead serious. Like this sounds like real work.
Yeah. And that's
amazing,
funny.
Man.
Yeah, and out of all the canvas pieces that I have, I mean, most of them are lost, or some people have them, but I still have the very first one I made. So like I have like the Genesis like piece of that, like physical, which is kind of funny. But the rest of them, I don't know, man. Like I got my car like repossessed, like I had a Ford Econoline van, and like had like 20 of them in there, and it just got taken away. I couldn't pay for my van to get out of towing, and so funny shit.
I love it. I mean, that it all sounds so like it's legend. It sounds perfect. It sounds like what you would have been up to before then. But then what was like the spark, or maybe there wasn't a spark? Was it like this slow evolution with the Bitcoin thing that happened, where you were like, okay, art on blockchain, and then like, oh shit, this is something? Was that slow, or was it like bam all of a sudden?
It was actually pretty slow, like considering like the last 2 years of this space. Like, yeah,
that's why I asked.
Before that, if it feels like a freaking century at this point. Like, wow, just the time gap is crazy. But like, but yeah, it was so gradual. It was like 2014, just learning Bitcoin and learning just all the other alternative blockchains, what they were doing. At the time, I remember like there's a site called coinmarketcap.com, and like you can see like the market caps of every single alternative crypto, and like there was like only 20. Like there was only 20 coins. Wow. Like there was only, Dogecoin was like the primary, like Dogecoin, the Silk or Litecoin, a bunch of other coins. But like at the time, it was more like 2014 was the year that like alternative blockchains finally exploded. That was the year like everything started coming out, and then it got to the point of like, what can you do with this blockchain? What can you do with this blockchain? And then like, so for me, it was just kind of like keeping tabs on all of them and just researching like more and more. And then Counterparty came out. And the first time I heard about Counterparty, they were talking about on some like news thing. It was like, there was a pre-sale where they burned Bitcoin, and I'm like, burning Bitcoin. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so like I had to take like weeks to even process that mechanism of like sending tokens to like a burn address, and then they're going to give you like tokens as a value equivalent to that. And so, after I learned that, I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, what does it do though? And then it's like, oh, you can make tokens on top of the network. I'm like, wait, you can make your own coins now. And that's when I fell into the rabbit hole of that thing. And then, ran into like Spells of Genesis and like Saratobi, which are like the first like blockchain games. So I was beta testing those games just because I was interested in what the hell these things could do, And so that was actually like my first like introduction to like NFTs, but we never called it that back then. Like there was no buzz.
Yeah.
It's like game items or blockchain art, or I think somebody said crypto art, but we didn't have a name for any of that stuff. And
were you doing pretty well, like trading Bitcoin at all or anything before this time, or like?
Yeah, I was doing pretty good.
Okay.
I was, but like the common story about everybody is like we were just a bunch of freaking gamblers, and like literally, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'll say the shit. Like I had 140 Bitcoin and I lost it all, like on one like bear market, dude. So like this is like a message to everybody. Like if you think you're safe now, just be careful. Like it can happen to anyone. Like it happened to me. Like but to be honest, like I just stuck with it because I just enjoy the technology itself. So I just knew in the long run that this stuff would be big. But for me, I was just always looking up the new thing. And then when I found out that we could make our own artwork with the Rare Pepe stuff, it was over. Like that's
there you
that
go.
was
And that's
yeah.
And that's what I was just pulling up. Was that your first mint was on 9/26, September 26, 2016. Like, so, okay, like, let's talk about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the Pepe Beef Taxi.
Pepe Beef Taxi, yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's like an inside joke with everybody. Like I had like some like trading account on Poloniex, and like I would type in all caps and stuff, and I kept getting banned for it. And then I took the all caps.
Long history of ROBNESS getting banned.
Well, it's funny because I just thought it was ridiculous. I'd get banned for 24 hours. So like they have like this little troll box thing in the trading site, and everybody would just be, literally the same thing what people are doing with PFPs now. It's like, oh, this is the next hot thing. Oh, this is the next hot thing. And so I'd be in there and I'd say some stuff in caps and I get banned for 24 hours. They had this like GIF. It was like a Thor GIF, like a ban hammer. Like you just see this GIF, like you've just been ban hammered. It's like 24 hours. and then it turned into like a everyday thing. I just go on there and type something ridiculous in all caps and get banned. And then I took that to the Rare Pepe Telegram room, and then I got banned a couple times there. And then they finally just like, all right, fine, he just talks in all caps. Fuck it, just let him go. So it turned into like kind of a little fun thing for me because I always thought it was ridiculous.
Wow. Okay, so this is the beginning of all caps. Is you did it at first to be annoying, basically, kind of like as a troll? Is that right, or did you say, or no?
I mean, yeah, it is kind of trolly in a sense, but I just kind of thought it was kind of ridiculous how everybody thought it was loud. Everybody's like, like all caps is like perception wise, it's loud in your head, like someone's screaming at you. And I'd like, I just thought it was funny as a perception thing. Like it's just a character change. There's nothing loud. You've been programmed. Yeah.
So using all caps is actually a conceptual art project that you're just going on with, really.
Yeah. I think it was funny. Xcopy kind of got it like, I think it was a year ago or something. He kind of said something real quick, like, oh, he's just probably doing that he nailed it. I was like, okay, you got it, but yeah, I know. But for me, it was just another funny thing to, and it is kind of trolly because I am kind of just, pushing something and pushing it, and people are just.
But you're also right. You're also not wrong. You're like, it's not any different than a different like a small, like lowercase versus uppercase is a character change that actually has nothing to do. Like this is just literally a form in front of your face. Like, and one of them makes you upset, one of them doesn't. Okay, that's funny. Yeah. You're right.
And it's like Japanese lettering. They're very boxy and very big. Like that's not loud. But there's no comparative. There's no little lowercase kanji. So
I
yeah,
dig
that
it,
was
man. I dig it. And all caps is great. Robness all caps. And now you're known for it. And now people like expect it from you. Like, what if you didn't? Like, what if all of a sudden you just started typing in regular caps? People would be like, what the fuck? Robness got hacked. You know, people wouldn't even think it's you. So
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I've done. I think I've done it a couple times. Like, well, I did one post. It was like in lowercase, and then someone's like, no, no.
just
It's
like
just
this
like,
isn't working.
and I was like, okay, all right, back to normal. But I just kind of did a one-off just to see what would happen, and yeah, that's the response I got. So yeah, I'm stuck with it now. So yeah, I got my fat left pinky holding the shift key. Yeah, but yeah, I mean
Fuck, man,
that's how I got into
amazing.
the Rare Pepe thing, man. It
Tell
was,
me about Pepe's though. Like why that? Like what was like why just why Pepe's? Why the meme?
I know, yeah. Well, for one, like when I saw the Rare Pepe asset on Counterparty, like the Counterparty protocol when you like sign in, it's like I mean, it's so like vintage now. Like you go in there and it's just like it looks like a spreadsheet still. You know, it's like it shows you like the asset names and stuff, and you know when someone mints something, you can see, you can see the assets pop up like this. Here's a new asset, and like I saw a Rare Pepe asset on there, and I immediately thought, and this is just like meme culture, you know. Like I remember back in the day, some guy was trying to sell like a collection of Rare Pepes that he collected on the internet. Like this guy, he actually collected them. It's kind of hard to do if you really think about it. And he like had them in a zip file, and he like wanted to sell them for like a ridiculous amount on eBay. And then that made kind of like a headway. Like this guy's trying to do it. You know, he's trying to
On
preserve
eBay.
names. Yeah, and so that
For how
joke.
much? Do you know? Do you remember how much
I
he was trying to sell this for?
I forgot. I thought I don't want to throw the number. I thought it was for like $1 million or something like that.
That's
But it was something
fascinating,
ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous enough for someone to like write about it, you know. And so I remember that. And so when I saw like the Rare Pepe asset, I go like the very first thing was like, it's happening. Like someone's trying to do this, you know. It's getting there, you know. And so it immediately just clicked. And then I found the Telegram room where everybody was kind of like kind of just getting together and stuff. And at the time, like I think we were just kind of like talking about it, and then it was decided that like we should make like a collection out of this and stuff. And so I was lucky enough to be like in the first series and stuff. Like I got a couple cards in the first series, and but then as time went on, it was like harder for me to like submit work because there were so many people like flooding in, and the artwork was just the game was getting stepped up and stuff. But like we also kind of like wanted to let people in as well, and just like, okay, you guys can be in the next series and stuff. And then to be honest, I kind of stepped away as well because I don't know, it just felt just good for people to just kind of come in and do their thing, especially coming from different countries too. We had tons of artists from like South America and like Japan and just all over the place, you know. Like I still don't even know really geographically where everybody is, you know. Like we have like Pepe What the Fuck now, which actually is like the most finally like an aggregate of like what, you know, for me, I didn't know mostly all the artists even like a year ago. Like I just couldn't keep track because for one, Bitcoin's a little bit more anonymous than Ethereum is. And so it was hard to even tell who was who or who made what and this and that. But yeah, no, that was my foray into the whole thing. And dude, it's been crazy ever since.
I love that about not like knowing who's even all part of it or whatever. Like specifically, I think that's part of it. That's part of the coolness of it. But I'm a little fascinated by this dude still, about the dude who collected all the Pepes and was trying to sell them on eBay. Like as a thing, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you remember who that is by chance, or like did you?
I don't know the individual, but
okay.
But
I mean, I'm not trying to like pull something out of you here. I just find it fascinating because in some ways, I mean, this guy's responsible for like the NFT culture in a way.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, that was the first thing I thought of. I'm not sure, you know, I'm pretty sure everybody else has.
But you are that. Like the fact that it inspired you means it inspired it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first thing I saw. You know, like when I saw it, that was the first thing that clicked in my head. Was like, it's happening. Like that for me personally, and then like that was my, you know, got to find out what's going on here, you know. And but
Yeah, do you
full-fledged.
think that if it wasn't memes at the beginning, that it would have turned into what it has? Do you know what I mean by that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like if you
Yeah,
were to like go straight to be like, I'm gonna mint my most like beautiful painting I've ever made as like the first crypto art piece, you know, people probably wouldn't like the fact that it was memes at the beginning was like part of like it like the success or why it took
yeah,
up like memes, literally memetics, you know. It's like there's something really interesting about that here. It's almost as if that was inevitable, like it had to
yeah.
be that.
Yeah, I think the reason why the Pepe was used is because it's just such a propagative like element. Like for me, it's like not even like the mimetic art form is like almost like an organism. So for me, I think the reason why Rare Pepe was chosen was because it's like the most organic meme on the internet, and it's very like uh, it's just like the Mickey Mouse of the internet, man. It's just like one of the most iconic memes of all time. It's like yeah, I mean I think that was just it. It was just the proper tool to use and for trading stuff too, and just get people involved. And another thing too is like um, just the imagery itself is very quick, you know. So it's like if you want to make a Pepe meme, it's like you don't have to have like extreme like art capabilities. It's like just make a meme, you know.
Yeah.
And is it dank enough? Then come on, bring it, you know. And that was that. And so, yeah, and so I like that, you know. I just like the fact that it was just open to everybody, and for me, like on Counterparty, that was the first real kind of like civilian art kind of group to get the thing going, because everything else was usually like a startup or project, like Spells of Genesis and Saratobi. Those are, you know, they're game developers, you know, and so they're doing their own thing. But this is the first thing where it was like, oh, anybody can jump on this, and it's just like you kind of just felt like the part of the actual like just the tribe, you know, and yeah, and I just kind of
Where
like that it
did
was just easy to enter, you know, so.
where did like you just used the word dank again, man, and like I love that word, but I mean I haven't used that word since I was like young, and like you know that was a term for weed, you know. Yeah, like so like where did I haven't heard that again since. It almost feels like that's part of the culture. Like that's where so the resurgence of the word dank and kind of that entire like lexicon of
Yeah,
language and vibe, or like how did that get part of it?
yeah. I mean, you know, Pepe, green, dank, weed. You know,
Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty
easy,
much,
simple.
yeah, real simple. But it was kind of just like it was like a
But now
terminology that,
it's dank memes, you know, like is the meme dank enough? I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. Like someone was asking me like, you know, what the heck, you know, like what do you consider like dank as? And it's like in the music world, like I remember like James Brown says like, you know, it's got to have the oomph in it, you know, like there's a certain thing like,
Hmm.
you know, if you're gonna make
Hmm.
funk, there's a certain like it's like indescribable, but
Yep.
once you know it's there, you know, that's like
Yeah,
dank to me.
got the
Like a dank
juice.
meme is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's got some type of like trolling element in there. It has some type of, it's obviously hilarious. Um, and another thing too is like even we got some cool artists right now that are just like the new meme lords on you know, they're making some awesome shit, but they like get the, it's like if you look at a dank meme, it's like you can tell like this person knows a lot about some parts of the internet that a lot of people don't go to, you know, and it kind of
Okay.
slips in there. It's just like an inner kind of communication going on, and it's like, okay, this person knows some shit, you know,
Yeah,
and
like they're in the wave. Yeah.
yeah, and it's got to be funny too for me at least. It's just like perfect. And to be honest, like there's been comparisons to like Dadaism, you know, like tongue in cheek kind of shit, and
Oh, of
just the
course, yeah.
ridiculousness of it. Yeah, and so all of that. That's why I'm really like into like the mimetic stuff, because it's like it's just like a new way of well, now it's getting more appreciated, you know, but just the way it works is like it's hilarity at first for me, you know, and then
I
everything
love
comes
that.
after it. So yeah.
So you just brought up Dada, and like that's something I've thought about a lot since the first hearing about trash art. I first heard about trash art from, well, I heard the term trash art, but I didn't know when I first heard about it that it was a specific thing, like a specific kind of art. I thought I just liked the term because like I like trash. I sent you some photos not long ago of like melted trash cans. I've always been attracted to trash for some
Yeah.
reason. So when I heard about trash art, I'm like, this whatever that is awesome. Like but I first got like the history lesson of it from Colborne in the back of a cab in New York. He explained to me the groundwork of what happened with you on Super Rare, and you know what the trash art aesthetic and culture, I guess, was. So that brings us to, jumping forward, I guess, a little bit. You went through Rare Pepe's, blah, blah, blah. How long before Super Rare came about, and how long, and were you like, let's get the story leading up into Super Rare, and then, leading up to the trash art thing, because to me, you brought up Dada, and I think that trash art is like the first art historical movement that kind of echoes Dada truly since Dada, like I talked a lot about Dada when I was first starting collage and stuff, because that was a big, they used collage for a lot of their expression and Dadaism and stuff. So I've been attracted to that for a long time, but I haven't heard of like a cultural movement that really echoes this kind of like anti-art sentiment. You know what I mean? Like like, oh, you think that we're something? Fuck off, then we are. So, like that attitude kind of is embedded in it. So like, before we jump right into the what happened with that, can we get like how it turned from Rare Pepe's into Super Rare?
Yeah, like that was, it's funny because the Rare Pepe collection like ended in like 2017. So it was just, I'm actually like happy that like Joe Looney and the rest of the cats, like they decided to like close the vault on it. It's just it was a good move, like because even a lot of us were like, well, let's just keep it going, and I don't know, I'll give them the foresight that like it was good to just close the collection and stuff, because now it's just like I look at the book, the physical book, and I go through all this stuff. It's just like it's like a tome now. It's crazy. But like when the collection ended, 2017 to like early 2019, like I just went back to like living the rest of my life. Like I was still doing music and stuff, and I was I was making the artwork and we were trading and stuff, but I wasn't doing that well, like financially. I just told you too, I lost a shit ton of Bitcoin, all that stuff. So all that stuff was going on, and like I was pretty much dead in the water.
I'm sorry to stop you. I just want to understand real quick. You said you're still making the work and trading it. Where were you trading it?
Mostly on okay, so I would do it on Counterparty, but we had like a phone app actually. It was called Indie Square. Props to Koji Higashi. If he ever sees this, like nobody. It's not, I don't want to say nobody talks about him, but it's like that man, that beautiful man made this like phone app where we could actually see the assets. Like we're so used to seeing like the NFTs, like the token to the image. But back then we were putting the artwork on the Rare Pepe directory website, so we can actually see the artwork, right? So you'd see the artwork, and then it would have the token right underneath it, and it was attached and stuff. And Koji was the first one to design like an app where it actually had the image, and you could see the collection that you had, and like that was like huge for me. I was like, dude, this is like the next step. This is great, and you can trade on there. So I'd be trading on the phone app with people and stuff. And so I mean, I was doing all that stuff like during that whole gap till I went to Super Rare. But like I sold one card, and it was like this Lord Keck card, and it's like the deity card of the whole Pepe collection. It's the God card, and like, and I sold one of the cards for like $10,000 at the time, and that was like huge for me. Like my buddy was freaking out. I was at the coffee shop, and like the guy wanted to do the trade, and I'm like, holy shit, like it's going down, fuck, like and went to the restaurant and like pulled the laptop out and handled the transaction, and like. And I was like dead broke at the time, so it like totally fucking pulled me out of the fucking gutter, And,
wow, yeah, that's life-changing money if you're broke.
Yeah, and so so I had this cash, and then like one of my friends was like, his girlfriend like like had a hookup, she worked for United and stuff, and she's like, I can get you buddy passes if you want to start flying around in jet set, and if you want to start traveling. I go, hell yeah, let's do it. I had nothing to lose. I'm like, screw it. So like that whole like time, like I went to like Tokyo, I went to Europe, and I went to Hawaii, and just a bunch of shit. And that was like during 2018. So 2018 was like like travel year.
Just fuck off, just
party,
hang out.
I was just yeah, and that was it, man. And just and it's funny because I never really traveled like before that. I wasn't like just so LA born, and so like LA enclosed. Like that was me before all that stuff. And then finally
it's actually really surprising that Yeah, it's surprising how many local Los Angeles people that you meet in this area that actually haven't left this area. I think everybody suspects that LA is this big, international hub, and everybody is but like, there's a lot of hardcore SoCal natives that are just like, yeah, I've never even left.
Yeah,
Surprising how often you hear about it.
it's true, and I think it's because it's like we're so spoiled with like the location itself. It's like within 2 hours you can get any climate. 2 hours I can
Yeah.
go snowboarding. 2 hours I'm going to be in the desert, and just any type of climate you want, you can get it. So I don't know. I'm not saying that's a full reason, but for me, it's just like it's nice.
Well, when you have everything you need right here, it's like, why would I go somewhere and just inconvenience myself?
Yeah, and it's like everybody wants to come here, and it's like, why do I got to go anywhere else? It's so stupid, but it's like that's a part of the LA's like I don't know, kind of like it's just I don't know, showboat.
It's part of the charm for sure. There's something about it. I mean, there's also like another interesting thing, not to get too far off topic about Los Angeles living here though, is that like if you're here for a while, like it starts to feel just like crushing in a way, like you can get really overwhelmed by it. But every time you leave, when you come back to Los Angeles, it feels magical again. Every time you're like, I'd rather like I can't imagine coming home to a better, place.
Yeah, I'm like SoCal like beach bum. Like I'm like so nostalgic. I'm like, yeah, the Beach Boys were here. Even the fact that I'm like from here, I still like if I'm driving in LA or something, I'm driving by the coast and stuff. I'm like, the Beach Boys were here. Like Redondo Beach, man. This is where Guns N' Roses recorded and shit like that.
That's what you tweeted. That's how I started this whole podcast or this whole, conversation, was that tweet about you saying exactly that. And that brings me actually back. And I want to know, do you remember what you were listening to when you were driving?
Oh, yeah. It was, I think it was Night Moves by Bob Seger,
Okay.
Yeah. And I know. And it's like that out of all the tracks, like usually, okay. So there's a couple artists that I actually do like. If I'm driving like Sunset Boulevard, like Tom Petty's one of them. Like Tom Petty, the whole like it's weird. Like his style, like rock and roll, like from the oh man, like from the valley. Like there's just some vibe that he was just able to like encode the LA kind of thing in his music, and like just that's one of them. Of course, like any surf rock. Like that's why I'm like a big like Tarantino flicks like kind of resonate with me, because like a lot of the music he uses is from the area. Like I grew up in Torrance and Redondo Beach, and like a lot of the stuff that he shot was around there, but like the music he used was also from around there, which I thought was fucking awesome. Like, yeah, like people don't realize like using a surf song as an intro to like a flick in the 90s is like profound, like only he could have pulled that off. It was gangster flick surf music, and so all that
thought
stuff,
about that.
Yeah. And so for all that stuff for me, like when I was a kid, that really like vibed with me. I'm like, okay, man, this guy is actually secretly repping this area, but you only could know it if you were from here and just did a little bit of research on what was going on here earlier. But yeah, all that stuff, man. It's funny. Def Leppard, actually, it's so funny because Def Leppard's like it's kind of like, I don't want to say cheesy, but it's like, yeah, it's got like, okay, if you put the top down and you put on like Hysteria, and you got the freaking palm trees going by.
Yeah.
And you drive outside, you pass by the whiskey and you pass by, it's just, you cannot get any closer to a vibe of a past life in the 80s, man. It's just classic, man. But yeah, like that stuff, the Cult, I mean, everybody says Guns N' Roses because it's like, they're the ones that, propped up Hollywood the most, I think. Like there's some other artists, in my opinion, that really just kind of take the cake. Like when Tom Petty passed away, man, that was a tough one for me. Because I didn't realize how much Tom Petty was a part of my life. Because when I was growing up in the 90s, like MTV was predominant. And I didn't realize it, but Tom Petty's music videos, like visually, like he was a part of my life visually. Like he had some of the coolest music videos that like for me, I just thought his videos were so freaking cool. Like Don't Come Around Here.
Somebody just posted one of his music videos recently. Maybe it was you actually, but I watched it. Maybe it was you. Did you post
it? Might have been. Yeah,
somebody did, and I watched it. But they were saying what you said too. Like nobody's captured this like the way that he did, back then or whatever. So, or they did or whatever.
Yeah, and so like when he passed, I was like it felt like someone kind of really close to me died. It was like weird, and I'm like, you know what? I saw that guy's face more than a lot of other musicians. You know, I mean, there are people like, you know, killing it in the '90s, but like as far as making like innovative music videos and weird stuff, like I always vibe with like this just visually what he made, you know. And so yeah, Tom Petty, freaking Bob Seger, any type of '80s rock.
It's so interesting because then, you know, grunge came along and like kind of like ended that whole scene, but that wasn't LA, that was Seattle, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's I mean, I've seen a lot of different documentaries and stuff that are kind of documenting that time, you know, like even that show Pam and Tommy, they kind of document that time where they portray Tommy Lee as like having a really hard time dealing with the fact that like bands like Nirvana are now popular and he's not.
yeah, it's when you see new blood coming in and they're taking the spotlight. Yeah, it's
what happened to LA during that time? What was going on in the music scene during that time? I mean, during like the grunge era, then when like MTV was purely focused on Nirvana and like all those hair metal bands and shit. Like like LA must have been felt kind of like it was stuck in the past a little bit.
Yeah, it was. It definitely. See, but the thing is, I was a grunge kid too, though. So like, I did the whole flannel, you know, the chain with the, you know, the wallet with the chain attached to your jeans and ripped jeans and stuff like that. That was all me, man. And so for me, it's weird. I did like a segue. Like, I mean, when Nirvana came out, and I to be honest, I listened to more Soundgarden and Alice in Chains than I did actual Nirvana.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, me too, actually. Like I never got into Nirvana all that much, but I was a huge Soundgarden fan and a huge Alice in Chains fan back then.
Yeah, and so I was listening to everything grunge for sure. But I mean, the funny thing too was like the '90s, like there was like so many weird music genres that were like hitting the airwaves. Like even ska was big, you know, like the Boss Tones.
Yeah,
you know,
fuck Boss Tones. Jesus. Yeah, wow. I've heard that word in my mind. Yeah, there was ska. But then also, too, I guess in the 90s, around the grunge era is when rap took off, too. Yeah. So, like, you guys had, like, out here with, like, Tupac. Like, I remember listening to All Eyes on Me back when I was, like, a teenager. And that must have been around, like, the same time that Nirvana was big. So,
yeah, we had
that was pure LA.
Dude, we had so many, like, well, just the music industry, like, in the 90s was so much more, like, just vast style wise. Like we had all these things popping off, and I remember that's when I got into like rave music and electronica and stuff like that. EDM was like 2000s era, but like the 90s was like you would see like stuff on MTV like once in a while. It was like Coca-Cola presents new artist, and it's like the Chemical Brothers, and then they're like some fucking crazy rave is going on with these guys, and
Yep, I remember that.
All that stuff, and I was like, what is this? And then so I got into like rave music at the time. Yeah, it was West Coast hip hop. Grunge scene. I was listening to so much shit, and also dude, on the airwaves, like, you know, K-Rock, they were playing. They'd be playing, you know, like they'd play ska, but then they would play retro stuff like the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, or was it Cherry Poppin' Daddies?
Yeah, that's a band.
Yeah. I'm like, did I say the name of the band right? Yeah, them, Royal Crown Review, and they had all these like freaking, you know, retro bands playing too, like swing bands. Like swing was pop in the 90s. Wow. It was freaking crazy, man. Like,
90s were weird.
Totally weird.
Time, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you get into the rap? Did you get into like Tupac and that kind of shit? Because like I said, like just yesterday I was listening to Tupac and being like, man, this really hits out here. Every time I listen to Tupac right here. Like I said, when I was young, like pretty young, I was listening to All Eyes on Me. That album was like my, like, for a summer I didn't listen to anything but that, you know. But then when I moved out here, like just recently, you know, not even within the last decade, listening to Tupac out here sounds way different. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
I'm just wondering if like you have that relationship too.
Yeah, no, it's totally legit, man. Especially drive like a little bit like by the 110, you know, like, and you see that one strip with all the palm trees right there and shit. No, it's classic, man. No, yeah, like Tupac.
Fucking funny, man. So I'm in Long Beach now. I was in LA for a long time, and I'm in Long Beach now. And I've never heard more Sublime, like legit. Everybody down, like, people love Sublime down here still, and like still blasting it from their cars. I swear to God, I hear it every day. And that blows my mind because I've never been anywhere where I've heard Sublime before. And people just love reggae here too. Like I just heard it last night blasting on somebody's car and had to turn it on because I was like, nowhere else do I hear people listen to reggae and Sublime. Just like that's so regional and such like specific too, like to Long Beach, because even LA they're not doing that. Long Beach.
Yeah, well, it was funny because Long Beach is interesting because I grew up in like Redondo Beach, like Hermosa. That's like where skate culture pretty much
Yeah.
Germany, and skate punk and all that shit. That's another thing. Like skater punk and shit. There's a lot of little different areas in LA that were popping off and stuff. But yeah, like Hermosa nowadays, it got a little bit more gentrified, and so like a lot of people were moving in from out of state, and like the rents were getting higher, and so like all the punks and the skaters that used to stay there couldn't afford there anymore, so they just moved to Long Beach, like
Word.
yeah, and so it's weird. Like Long Beach is cool, man. It's pretty varied. Like you're in downtown Long Beach, there's like a blues club and shit, and like just a bunch of different places you can go to. A lot of the bars are super cool. And
yeah, it's like dive bar heaven down here. Like if you like to go to like just hole in the wall bars, like you can do that for days.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, and it's cool. I mean, and there's like a greaser element too. Like, there's like some
big time.
Yeah.
What's really cool too in Long Beach is that it's very blue collar because, they, at least as far as I've anthropologically figured out living here for a little while, is that like, because the docks are right there, the fucking Port of Los Angeles. And like, I've had Uber drivers that talk in length with me about how like everybody wants to work at the docks because like once you get like, there's lists of people, it takes like years sometimes for somebody to finally get hired by the docks. But once you do, you're like set for life. So there's like like you said, it's kind of like greaser, mechanic type, but like really blue collar, very, I like that very much about it. My neighbors like right across the alley here, fucking every day, all day are just revving up motorcycles and working on motorcycles all day long. I love that.
Yeah. No, it's super sick, man. Like, and for me, just being here, it's like, you always have like friends that like wanted to get jobs at the docks, and it's like, and it's almost funny. It's like you have to get grandfathered in, like they have that kind of thing going on, but once you get set and you work that shit, it's like you pretty much can not retire, like, but retire up here. It's like you're set for life in that job, and it's like so secure, and you make a grip of money, and so and that's it, and you just get your house and just work that shit, boom, sleeves up, and that's it, so yeah. But
this was a very proper detour we took here into some regional.
No, what's funny is my love for LA, man. It's just
yeah, no, I mean, we needed to get there because there's so much regional history here, and the fact that you're from here, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to your work. Like when I look at your work and then your vibe, meeting you, hanging out with you a little bit and everything, like you're a California person, like it, to me at least, it seems like, and you have that kind of like freewheeling energy about you that only you find in SoCal,
laid back and sometimes super lazy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's not even like lazy. It's just like, how to relax. Like people here, some like, if the locals, they know how to relax, it seems like, it's like legit. Okay, so back to Super Rare though. Like, so we covered the fact that you were, like about 2 years almost went by where you really weren't, there was a little bit of action happening, but nothing too much. When did that pick up again? And like, what happened?
Yeah, so it's like, I'm trying to think when I actually entered Super Rare. I'm just gonna say early 2019, like January or something like that, because I think like I got back to the States like around September, November, something like that. I mean, I literally have to check the mint dates because I'm so terrible with like the timeline, but I'm getting better at it. I got back and I was like, just kind of like, well, what's going on with like art on the blockchain? Like what's happening? And then I found actually the first platform I got on was rareart.io, which is now defunct. Like it's the first, like Rare Art is like the first like demonstration of like a platform actually goes down and your work's gone, so so like I had like a bunch of work on there, and then finally it just went defunct. The project was closed, and people like Art Gnome and some others were able to cop up pieces and stuff. but yeah, like the whole platform went away, and but after that, like I was still looking around, and I saw Known Origin and Super Rare, and I got on Known Origin first. and then got into super rare, and then we just started making pieces from there. But super rare had like a telegram room. Well, they still have it, but back then it was kind of like almost like the Rare Pepe room. It was like really small. I kind of actually like applied through the telegram. I was like, "Hey, Zach, I'm going to send you some stuff," and then that was that. And so and then I just started making pieces from there on out. And I don't know, it was fun because it was like starting from like zero again. It was like I could actually make like personal pieces. It wasn't just like like making Rare Pepes or memes. That was its own thing. Like I made it a point to make shitty meme cards. Like that was the whole aesthetic of it, and so but like now it was like a point where I can actually just do my own work and just kind of express myself that way. And so yeah, I just kept making pieces from then on, and then became friends like Goldie, Max, Miss Al Simpson, Norman, you name it. The list goes on. And then we would start seeing slowly but surely like collectors at the time, and we really didn't even call anybody collectors. It was like, oh, this person just bought a piece, this person just bought a piece. And yeah, just basically just on overload, and just started making a ton of work, and just having fun. And we were selling pieces for for dimes back then. It was like we were at a time I didn't even care. I was like, just wanted to get on the leaderboard to sell work, and I would sell work for like $10, $10.
Sounds more fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of fun back then.
Yeah, and it was just people were like, some of us were were like, you shouldn't be selling work that cheap. But for me, I was like, I don't know, I'll be making more anyway. So if the work is worth anything, I don't mind the secondary sale being the quote unquote like first sale,
the bigger one. Okay,
yeah, the bigger one.
That's
right?
an interesting.
Yeah.
How much work would you say? So like now you're on super rare and you're just making work, putting it up, selling it. How many pieces do you think you made before the trash art thing hit?
Oh man, I would say
Minted. I should say.
Yeah. Well, there's a total on my super rare account, which is like I think like close to, I don't know, maybe like 170 works or something like that. And then like I was making works on Unknown Origin as well. So I think by then I probably had a good like 300 plus, and then that was when I like got removed for the trash can. And
all right,
so
let's go.
yeah.
Let's fucking go. Trash can, trash art. Like fucking what happened? Like so. My understanding, you were using Photomosh basically, right? To make you in your work or whatever, uploading that to super rare. The work that upset some people. They were like, this isn't real art. Basically, is that right? Roughly.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
He's making it with an app.
Yeah, I mean, like, so like my technique for some of the work that I was making, and this is like pre like literal trash cans, like some work that I was making, I actually used Photomosh as like an added filter. So I do work on like Photoshop, and it's like we keep comparing Photomosh to like a guitar pedal, like a guitar pedal rack. So we just like take the image and run it through there and see what kind of effects we can apply onto it, and then just boom, and mint it. And so I was making this work, and then like some people at first they liked it, and then like when they found out the process, they were like, "Oh, this is too easy. This is garbage. We shouldn't be having this type of artwork on the platform." And so for me, I didn't take too much I didn't take too much of that to heart. It's weird. I'm kind of like with visual art stuff, I don't take too much stuff personally, which is kind of interesting. Like when it comes to music, it's really different. But yeah, like
really, you take things personally?
Yeah. No, I mean like for like the music stuff is like, yeah, I think that was
yeah, if you get criticized on music, it means more. I don't mean to interrupt your flow with this, but like just what kind of imagery were you running through Photomosh, or like what kind of work were you doing at this time? Like maybe what was kind of like subject matter that you leaned towards, as well as like how did you compose an image that led up to the Photomosh then? Like what kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like I just trying to get a feel for like what you were doing and before the Photomosh process. That
for sure. Yeah, I had a series called Virtual Skies, and it was like for me it's vaporwave, kind of like a kind of like a vaporwave homage. Like at first, like the first couple pieces were literally just just skies with just like a a VHS kind of filter, scan lines kind of thing, and it's just more so just for me, like just because I was on a vaporwave tip right before I even came into super rare. I was still like total vaporwave junkie, and like that just sucked my whole life up for a while visually and like conceptually, and I was just excited
We're gonna
about
come
it.
back
So,
to that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to vaporwave for sure.
Yeah, and so I was making this whole series, and collectors were buying it up, and even some collectors I don't talk to anymore, like bought a couple, but yeah, like that was the first like real like predominant series that I had that actually was like I was like using, I'm like basically abusing photomage, and it's so funny, right? I look at those pieces now and it looks like so vintage now, because like during the time, like we were like the rest of us in like super rare, we're still like grappling with making stuff like optimized for the internet. So like when we would make pieces, like it's weird. It's like you're kind of just entrained by the internet to like upload like the most optimized file so that you don't burn the website or whatever. You know what I mean? But then it got to the point where like, well, we're making like quality artwork here, so let's like up the file size, and so then we just started like really like increasing, like, okay, here's a freaking 30 megabyte GIF. I like a lot of my early GIFs are like really like low quality, but it's almost like vintage now, which is crazy. But I was making those pieces and selling them.
Part of it.
Was that?
I was just saying that's part of it, like the
Yeah.
low quality or like low DPI, low resolution, whatever, low res, like, and they're saying like it looks vintage now. It's like that it makes you like it more, in my opinion. Like I like that kind of shit. It's like evidence of the time. It's like evidence of its creation, etc. Like I think that there's a real nostalgia to it, I guess. Where like, and I mean that in like the affectionate way, where it's like you have an affectionate feeling for that kind of like oh yeah,
Yeah, and for me, like it's the nostalgia for me is the fact that like there was like this point in time where like everybody was like, oh wait, we can upload bigger files. Like now it's commonplace. Everybody just does it like without even thinking about it. But back then, like we were still like, oh shit, I could have uploaded a way better copy of this, and for me, like that's the nostalgia that I have in my heart with just being there and stuff. And so that first series I was making and selling those pieces out, but like then people found out like I was using Photomosh, and then it was like, oh well, this is this is easy to make, and like we can't have this artwork, this garbage artwork on super rare, and blah blah blah. And so some collectors were saying that too. So there was like some of my peers and some of the collectors were saying it, and I'm basically just going through all of that stuff. And then like Max Osiris was another artist that I respect, and like he was having his own battles. Like he was the first one that was removed because like there was some contention in the community and so forth. And he was also like sampling work from other artists, and they got complaints and so forth. So like when he got removed, and I'm going through all this like contention, just stylistically, like aesthetically, like I'm like, okay, like all this stuff's going on. We're making too much artwork, like all these like different like roadblocks, and to Super Rare's credit, actually, like they were just growing as well. Like a lot of us were growing. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing most of the time. So like I don't expect platforms to know either. But with all that stuff going on, I started making artwork that was more like reflective of like what was going on at that point in time. So like there's a piece where I made like, we had to start like citing sources and stuff, like what image you used and stuff like that, and like cite it in the description.
What?
Yeah. And
really?
so I made a piece.
What? When? Like what? I don't even understand. Like on Super Rare?
Yeah, like we had to start
listing to cite sources.
Yeah. Yeah. So I made a piece called crediting sources, and it's like a long. It's just like it's a gray background, and then I literally like write. Like this piece is constructed. The color gray is invented by Isaac Newton, like, and just all the way down to Satoshi, basically, and so yeah, and I just started to kind of like not like I was mocking the shit, and so I just started making all these pieces, and then like I got really obsessed. I'm like, okay, well, if they really like don't like Photomosh, I'm gonna crank up the Photomosh even more now. So like I made some piece called like Catmandu or something. I'm like, this is a picture of like a cat that like I was gonna throw away, like artificial intelligent cat, but I'm gonna run through Photomosh right now and mint it. Here's the first like literal trash GIF, you know. And then I just started making more pieces, and then I started making actual trash cans. So like the first one
So
was,
would you say, well, if you make the distinction that for it to be trash art, it had to have been created with the intention of being trash art, would you say that that cat piece then is the very first piece of trash art ever?
yeah, I
Yeah.
literally like in the description, I was starting to have fun with the descriptions too. Like, I would I would literally like write like I think for that one I was like, this is like the very first official trash GIF, you know.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. So I was actually having fun in the descriptions with what I was typing. Actually, super rare. I was having, I don't know if it's the layout, but I was having fun with the descriptions and also the hashtagging. So like the hashtagging actually had like quips in there as well. And then yeah, from that point forward, I was just I was like, yeah, if you can't make a trash GIF in 5 minutes, it's not a real trash GIF. I started comparing it to like 3-chord punk rock. I was like, fuck it, you know, and then that was that. And then I started getting into like making like the trifecta trash can pieces, you know, like the first one was made like I called it Brute Trash Can, and it's a trash can, but like it's totally like obfuscated. It's just a white background with a strip, and it's like totally glitched, but you can't see anything. The joke was I just called it a trash can.
I love it.
You know? So,
Yeah.
So the first
That's
one's
genius.
obscured. Yeah. Well, thank you, man. And then the second one was it was another company like Uline trash can, right? But in this one, you can kind of see, if you look at it, you can kind of see there's something in there, like, you know, it's like in the womb or something, you know, and like the joke didn't really catch on, and then I just put a full on 64-gallon toter, boom, like there's the joke.
It's hotter.
Yeah, and then I got the message saying, you know, we're removing you, and we're removing.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's where it started.
I have to ask again about the citing sources on Super Rare. Was that an official? Like, was there a place for that on the Super Rare page where you had to fill out your sources, or how did that work? I'm so confused.
Yeah, we did it in the description. So there's another piece.
But you had to? They told you had to, or like, how did this?
Yeah, it was. I think at the time it was just because they were starting out, you know, as a new platform. You know, they didn't want to get like suits and ties, like slapping them with lawsuits and stuff. So, you know, I mean,
How did you find out, or how did they tell you that? Like, how did you get an email one day and you're like, hey, you got to now put sources in your fucking?
I think it was like in a Telegram, or we got like a DM on Twitter and stuff. Yeah, because like Twitter back then was like really quiet too, so there wasn't like a lot of shit going on. Like it was just like a normal, like, you know, like we would just post up pieces here and there and whatever, and the conversation was like really like it was like really just the Super Rare family and like Known Origin, and that was pretty much it. Even the Rare Pepe stuff like wasn't even around. It was so weird. The Rare Pepe thing was gone. Like sometimes I would go in the Rare Pepe room, like, you guys should come over to Super Rare and check this shit out, you know? And they were like, oh, fuck Ethereum, you know? So like, I'm like, all right, like I get it. Like I was a Bitcoin maximalist too for a while, you know? And then I finally had to make the jump to like MetaMask and shit. But yeah, man, I mean, I went off track there, but
No. I mean, I think we should go maybe a little bit further into the trash can, actually. So you minted this trash can, so people were calling your work trash art, and you're like, okay, here's trash art for you. Like, here's a trash can. Like, this is, now we're going, you know, we've full literal. I mean, it's like that's the trump card. You know, you just fucking threw down the trump, and it was just like, it's just like, all right, the game's over. I won. Bye. You know, like, but then Super Rare is like, we're taking this down in the way that I understand. Maybe not even the way that I understand. It's just the way that I perceive it. It seemed like an excuse to get rid of you. Like, it was like, oh, we've been having issues with this guy forever. Here's an excuse. Like he like, we're gonna say he took that trash can off the Home Depot website. Like that's good enough. We can now justify our kicking him off.
Yeah.
And here's where things get interesting to me. And even like the citing the sources on Super Rare thing, where that was the thing. Who was Super Rare at this time? How many people did Super Rare have working for him? Do you know? Or like, I don't understand how a website that, or like an arts platform, wouldn't understand fair use. That like, and like understand, you know, like, to me, it's so simple. It's like so obvious. I mean, the precedent was set a long time ago. There's artists who, you know, like Andy Warhol went through all this for us already. You know, like he already got sued and went through all this, and like fair use came to be and blah blah blah. So like, how is a site like Super Rare telling you have to like cite sources in your description and like removing people from the platform when they actually haven't broken any law?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that see that for me, like that was something I was asking myself too at the time. I'm like, well, I think maybe they just didn't want to take that risk, and so I mean, possibly just could be. I mean, like I got a message from John Crane saying like we talked to our legal team, like we got to let you go. Like, okay, that's fine. But yeah,
You're
I
okay
mean,
with that? That's insane. That's insane. What
yeah,
justification did they give you though? We have to let you go. Like we have to. What
yeah.
justification was
It
that?
was like, I mean, I minted the email, which is funny. So John's probably laughing about this shit, but like I minted the email. I was like, this is the
Where?
super bullshit letter. It's on OpenSea. I have a
Okay.
contract on OpenSea, like a ROBNESS 2019 collection, whatever, and it's in there. And I think I forgot who collected it. I'm not sure if it was Token Angel or somebody, but somebody
You're
got it.
genius the way that you do this, by the way. Like that, like, okay, I got this email as removed me. I'm gonna mint that. Like it's just like every move you make and like this, it's so like perfect and spot on. Like but it's fascinating to me still, like this sources thing. And I don't think this is switching topic too much actually, is that this recently came up again, right? With the Fidenza controversy on Object, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Similar, isn't it?
ridiculous. Yeah.
So I don't understand how a site like Object can Object be held liable?
I'm not even sure. I just think it's just ridiculous. Like my main gripe with this Tyler Hobbs guy is like, dude, you probably weren't selling shit for like a year before this. And now you're cleaning house and like you're going after smaller artists. Like I'm not gonna like I just can't deal with that. You know, like I've already been in the space for too long to see like the biggest thing out of this whole thing is like you were not able to sell digital art and now you can. That's the revolution, and then like now people are actually like taking it backwards and going after people. So like for me, like
And
that
being
was
very serious, yeah.
yeah. And the fact is that the guy used the Fidenza style. It was an homage to his style, and then he was making a trash can style as well. And just the fact that like I go on an object and it was fucking removed, like you know, it just you know that stuff kind of irks me because it's like
Yeah,
I mean,
me
I hate to
too.
say it, but it's like I'm not gonna like bear any bones about it. Like, dude showed up about a year ago on the height, yeah, and now he's pulling moves. Like, I just don't care if he doesn't like what I'm saying. I'm telling it like the way it is right now. Like, dude came in cleaning house, and now you're like shutting people out. Like,
So Tyler
no,
Hobbs, you say Tyler Hobbs came in
yeah,
about a year ago, you'd say?
yeah. Or, I mean, that was when the Fidenza stuff started coming out, and the generative art stuff
And to
started.
my understanding, like Fidenzas are generative art, right? It's a
Yeah,
generative project.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the name Fidenza is actually like a name of a city somewhere,
Yeah, it's in Italy,
right?
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like, oh, he's trying to
Okay.
copyright a city in Italy? Like, are you
So
kidding me?
yeah,
Like,
so I'm just covering the bases here because my understanding is that they didn't come after the artist for the visual aesthetic of it even. It was the fact that they used the word Fidenza,
yeah,
right?
it was because the Fidenza toter, like, yeah, it had the word Fidenza in the title. So like,
Okay. And so what happened is that Tyler Hobbs had his people hit up Object saying you have to take this down or we're going to sue you into oblivion.
yeah. Well, I don't know the specifics on that. All I know is that it got taken down. So I what like
Okay.
from my
So
perspective,
somebody hit up somebody and
yeah,
it's super fucked up. It's super fucked up in so many ways. I'm actually most curious from the perspective of that platform though. Like could somebody go onto OpenSea and be like, yo, like this is minted on OpenSea and that's copyright, take it down or we're gonna shut down your site or whatever. Like could they? Is that I
yeah. I
don't
mean,
get it.
I think it's just a matter of how much they can flex and kind of scare the platform into doing it. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's how the law
Well,
is, anyways. It's like the more money you have to flex on lawyers to hire a lawyer team to force the platform to do it, they'll bend over backwards and do it. That's really what it
yeah,
is.
but
Yeah.
so isn't there a difference on whether or not the the property in question is actually stored on any sort of centralized server or something like that? Like if a platform is just like an aggregate or like there's actually no central server, they can't actually be held liable for anything. to my understanding. But now that Object has like allowed minting now, I guess, does that where it comes in, where it's like they are liable or something? Or do I sound just like a fucking idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about?
No, yeah, no, I mean, that's
I'm
like
just wondering, like
the Web3 platform. It's like everybody's hosting stuff on their own site, right? So it's like you're subject to having the powers that be like remove your shit. Like that's the whole point. Like I keep bringing up, it's like Richard from Manifold. He said something like today, and I was like, bingo. It's like most people don't even understand what decentralization means anymore. Because see, here's the thing: it's like, okay, like the Beeple sale brought in all the hype, and it brought in all the people that like literally leapfrogged over and didn't go through all the trials and tribulations of like why we have this technology to begin with. So like, we got people that are like here that are saying, this is decentralization and this and that. I'm like, no, it's not. Like if the suits and ties want to come down on a platform, it's on a centralized server. Yeah, you can have it taken down. That's the whole point of like Bitcoin. The reason why it exists is because it was able to circumvent banks. There was no target to hit. There was nobody to kill. There was nobody to remove. There was nobody to, you know what I mean? So that's why we have Bitcoin. And to me, like, that's still, it's not even a maximalist thing. It's the fact that like, the network doesn't have like a figurehead to take down. Like when Satoshi dropped the code and put it out and made it open source, he just let that shit fly and didn't touch it and is gone forever. There's nobody to, to say anything about it. And then like the fact that, for me, like Vitalik being like the figurehead of Ethereum, it's compromisable to me. Like I like the kid, he's a fucking genius, but like it's still like that is a PowerPoint like failure, like right there. Like that is a person that could be like, I'm not saying it could be like, coerced or anything, but it's not good in my opinion. Like
they can hold him accountable.
Yeah,
yeah,
right. But it's weird though, because people are like, well, Vitalik doesn't run the network anymore. I'm like, no, but it's not that. It's like it's like a trickle down effect. There's people that Vitalik knows, and the people that know Vitalik know other people, and it's like it's a pyramid fucking thing. And it's like, I think about that shit, and so like, what is true decentralization? And I think it's like you literally have to disappear and let a network propagate, for that stuff to happen. So when it comes to like actual crypto art, I release stuff on super rare and known origin, but I know in the back of my mind, it's like a lot of this stuff's compromisable, but I do like using the technology, and I think it's like, it's better than nothing, So, I mean, that's why like Counterparty on Bitcoin is still like super rad, because you really can be anonymous on there and release whatever the hell you want on there, and it still has that spirit and stuff like that. But yeah, like for me, like I constantly harp on that shit. I'm like, we need to have like actually a decentralized marketplace, like a real,
yeah, totally. I'm with you, because I think that's where like some of the cognitive dissonance within myself coming into this war like started, where it was like, because copyright is something that I've been really interested like all my life, well, my adult life, I guess. And coming into Web3, and I was in crypto a little bit before that and everything, trying to get a hold of it and whatever, and being very turned on by the idea of decentralization and all that. And then I come into the space and I find out stuff about people getting thrown off of platforms, copyright infringements and shit like that. And it was my hope and dream coming into this that we could like get rid of these bureaucratic handcuffs. So like that mean like total bullshit. Like, to me, copyright to an artist is nothing but an impetus, because there's a difference to me between plagiarism, and using somebody's art and doing like a referential piece to it or changing it, blah, blah, blah. Like there's a difference. Like if you're copying somebody, yeah, that sucks. You're getting in the way of that person making their own money, right? That's bad. Like if you're just copying somebody and then selling it, that effectively removes the other person from being able to make money off of their own work. Plagiarism's bad. Copyright though, as far as like the way it's being used, is like it's not beneficial to anybody. The way that I see it, it seems kind of arbitrary, especially with fair use laws. It's just something that gets in the way. And I was really hoping that we could get rid of it, and then finding out that it's an issue within this already. Like, so where do you stand on this? Because the crux, or not like the issue, is that plagiarism part. It's like, how can you do this, what we're doing, right? Where we allow creative freedom to the extent of like you never getting kicked off super rare, people understanding fair use, etc. without the plagiarism though, because that seems to be an issue within the community too, right? It's like, how do we not throw the baby away with the bathwater, you know, but also deal with this issue of plagiarism, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is your take here?
It's more like a philosophical one. I think it's like and a social one as well. So like, I think like blockchain technology, like it engenders like, you know, I mean, the way the blockchain actually works is like, you know, people have nodes, and if there's a bad actor, like the rest of the network will see that bad actor and kick it out, right? So I think like the network itself, like I think humans will like work in parallel with how the technology works. So I think when it comes to like minting an art piece, you know, even like let's just say someone like minted like the toter before me, yeah. Even though it's on the blockchain, like it's time stamped and everything. Like if I minted it afterwards, and yeah, it's like the second mint, right? It's on a historical timeline. This and that. I think the other added benefit is we also have like, you know, humans going, well, the first one is not the real mint, and like the second one is, and more things will be minted on the chain to reflect that, you know. So my most important thing is actually like the stuff being written on the chain constantly. So if something is plagiaristic and it's on there, like the timeline won't allow that. It'll keep putting stuff in that's like, oh, this was the first one, you know. And so
interesting.
Yeah. So I think that like humans are like working. They're slowly like they're kind of getting entrained with like record keeping in a sense, you know. So for me, it's like if someone copied like the 64 talent, like I meant to the first one, yeah, and someone copied it, and they have. Like on other blockchains too, which is kind of funny. Like someone minted the 64 gallon toter on Tezos, and at first it was like they were like, "Oh, well, what do you want us to do with this?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to collect it." like I bought it, like I bought it and then like put it like for 6,400 Tezos. Like, but the thing I was, the thing I'm testing out is like, okay, well, I mean, yes, this is technically like, you know, plagiarism, whatever, but like, how can you actually really work this? Like, okay, so it's the second one on a different chain.
You set the story straight by collecting it yourself.
Yeah,
in a way, like that's all you needed to do.
It's like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and you know, I forgot who I was talking to on the DM, but they were asking me, oh, you know, what do you want us to do with this and this and that, and I said, well, I collected it, and I figure even by putting my 2 cents in there, by like buying the artwork, that is kind of like I was kind of having fun with that.
Absolutely,
I actually support this, you know, by buying it, and I actually listed it for like 6,400 Tezos, and it's sitting there, you know, and whatever happens after that fact. But my most important thing is that the work is written on the blockchain, and there are like humans all over the world that will have that like bad actor kind of like like the decentralized nature of this whole thing. The result of the opinion will rise to the surface, you know, and I think that's kind of the beauty of it. It's like we have this hard-coded opinion, but we also have humans that can kind of like also make sure that you know, the right story is being told as well. So yeah.
It's crazy hearing you talk about it from your perspective, and then like, you know, just the other day reading about this Tyler Hobbs controversy, and I mean, I don't know Tyler Hobbs whatsoever. I can't speak to his character at all, but like suing a lesser artist for, or not suing, or whatever he did to make it like take this down. I believe that kid is no longer on Object even, and his whole profile gets suspended or something.
I'm not sure if he can mint or whatever, but the funny thing about Tezos is like just start up another account on a different name.
Exactly.
So, but that's why I love the whole pick enough thing.
Yeah, dude, I love Tezos. But the point that I wanted to just highlight here is that like you literally go through the same exact thing that this Tyler Hobbs went through, I guess, this one time where somebody used the word Fidenza and he lost his shit. And here you are, OG since the beginning, minting on BTC in 2016 or whatever. And fucking like somebody does it to you and you're like, I'm just going to buy that. You know, like you really see I'm not going to say anymore. You see something there though, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's what's up, man. It's
the whole thing about this is from day one. I mean, it was like, check out this awesome shit. Like, this is helping every digital artist on the planet. That was from the very beginning. I had just seeing, like, trading the rare pepes and all that stuff. Like, even like I can't even remember my first sale, to be honest. Like, I'd actually have to look that up, what rare pepe I sold first. I can't remember. But the first sale just blew my mind. I'm like, holy shit, I just sold some digital artwork.
Yeah. Just like happy to be here.
Yeah. And from day one, I mean, I try, sometimes I forget every day, but I mean, like bringing it back down to basics. It's like, we can now sell digital artwork, and that's profound. Like, that's why we're in this shit to begin with. So I think a lot of people just kind of forget that. They start making a lot of money and shit, and they forget like the damage you're doing to the space by doing shit like that. Like, you are actually pushing people out of the system when they should be coming in. And so, like, I don't know this Tyler Hobbs guy, and then he hasn't said shit to me because it's like, all right, don't argue with this guy, don't engage, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I was going to ask you if you've spoken with him, because you've spoken out on this topic very publicly on your Twitter page for the last week, or whatever. So I was wondering, did he reach out? And to me, the fact that he didn't, it speaks volumes.
Yeah. And I think it's just, it's like normal shit. Like, oh, don't engage with blah, 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 whatever. I get that shit.
Yeah. But if you're confident in what you're doing, and like, you're actually an integral part of it, it's not like it's a stranger just making a commentary. You're like, no, he was doing a totter too. That I'm involved, like.
Yeah. And that was another thing too, is, like, this guy was just like expressing like an homage to two different things, and like the one other side was like, no, it's got a fidenza in the name. Like,
I can't believe it. Like, I do homages to all my favorite artists after I see like great exhibitions in museums. Like, back when I always used to do it, but like back when I was younger, I would definitely do it. But like, go see a Richard Prince show, I would go home and I would make work that not look like Richard Prince, but it would be like, oh, I get it, and like just make. But it was always an homage, like, oh, I'll do his thing like me. And then it was like, okay, I do a Jim Hodges show, I do him like me, and like, see this show, I'll do him like me. So I'm all about that. It's flabbergasting to me, honestly, this whole, like, in homage, it's the greatest thing. Like, I get copied all the time. Like, I like all the time on Instagram, somebody's hitting me. I'll be, oh, dude, look at this person ripping you off. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, like, I'm probably a stepping stone for some other artist to like, oh, like, see my work. I'm going to try to do that, move on. Like, I'm not going to try to get in anybody else's way. Sometimes on the not good days, you see something that's a little too close. And you're like, really, come on. But like, what are you going to do about it? Yeah. But then I mean, you have to take it as like a compliment in a way, I do. When I'm in my best moments and I really bring it around, I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, I did something that struck somebody so much that they're doing, something so similar, like that touched them so much, or it made them do this, whatever it is, and like you said, it's an homage, like just that word homage, it's like, that's not copying somebody, that's paying respect. That's like saying like, cheers to you, sir. Like, I dig you, and I dig your work. And here's me doing some work that's reflective of yours as a way of me saying like, hey, I fuck with these dudes.
Yeah.
And that's dope. And so for this dude to misunderstand that so fucking and attack the kid, it's like, dude, that kid's a fan of yours.
Well, see, I think this is the whole like leapfrogging thing, like once they figured out, NFTs, they do this whole like leapfrog, and they're just like pulling all this old art world shit, and they're like, oh, copyright's still a thing in this space. And it's like not even for me, like, at all. Like, it's like totally the antithesis of it. And that's just my own personal opinion. Yeah, but
I'm with you.
Yeah, and like the rare Pepe culture, it's based on memes and remixing and remixing and remixing and remixing, and so I guess I was kind of like, I was tainted from day one with that stuff. But from music to visual arts or anything, art's been a part of my life ever since I was like freaking 13. It didn't matter what it was. If it was music, it was visual arts. If it's cinema, anything. Like, if you look deep into anything anybody's ever created, it's not entirely original. You're a summation of all your like inputs from your whole life. And
absolutely,
and it So for me, like I say it and it sounds ridiculous to people, but I don't take credit for any of my artwork. I just feel like I am like a connector. Like, here's my life before, and like, here's my memory that's in my brain, and I'm doing physical action now, and it goes through, and I'm merely a conduit. That's it. I'm merely a conduit to whatever
Yeah.
fucking, thing comes afterwards. And I'll tell you what, like, it helps me like be less egotistical. I mean, I still, have like ROBNESS and blah 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 and all this shit, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like I know that like I am merely just like a summation of shit that like I ingested visually, sound wise, through every single freaking orifice. So like when I
I'm
see
with
like
you 100%.
yeah. So when I see
It's crazy to hear you.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
like for me, like the Tyler Hobbs thing, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, but I just felt like it was right to respond to that because that was a smaller artist and like they're just having fun, just having fun with the space. And it's like all of a sudden suits and ties and all this bullshit. So I was like, I gotta make something out of it.
It's worth bringing up. You have to bring these. You have to highlight these things so that the next person knows like this isn't the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, credit to
like
Punk 4156. He's got the whole nouns now thing. And I'll give him credit because he's pushing CC0, like the Creative Commons thing, through his brand. Right now, I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of the pop PFP stuff or whatever, but I respect that because, when I see like corporations coming in and they're like, the only way we can be cool is like to be cool with this concept, and like I see them like actually accepting like Creative Commons as a thing, like that's huge. That's like you're actually forcing corporations to like bob and weave and like try to be in here, and if they don't, then fuck off.
Yeah.
And so that's, for me, that's a small step, very small step, but what that leads to like a century from now, who knows, man? Maybe more
exactly.
more artwork will be free, but I think that the blockchain, like the reason why it's there is to say, look, this was made at this point in time. The token is like the paint, like the oil paint, like this is the real edition, right? And so we have just a stronger form of record now than we did ever before. And it's a lot of people like to make it really complicated, but for me, it's just a super strong like hall of record, and that's it. So
I love that. I mean, a super long hall of record. That's exactly what it is. And I mean, to think about it that way, it really does like help with perspective and shit like that. And like, if it seems overwhelming, to like really simplify it. And like, I love that CC0, what you were bringing up about, like forcing corporations towards, this and shit like that. And as far as like, I don't even know how to word this or whatever, but like, just to harp on the copyright thing just a little bit more, and like the fair use of fair use within copyright and stuff. Like I see it, I don't know what the question is, but I find it super interesting that there's all these digital artists I see are using sorry, the trash man's outside.
The trash can's outside?
Yeah.
No, I love that sound.
The dumpster's getting on. Yeah, I do too. It's totally fitting. But like this Creative Commons idea, all these digital artists are going on like Getty Images or whatever, and like signing up for their accounts and only using images that they pull off there because they're scared of copyright law. But with fair use, like how loose fair use is, I find that super interesting. And I don't know what that is exactly. If people are just that scared of copyright law in this scene, and is it because like you got kicked off Super Rare, or like what is the deal with like this? There's so much talk about copyright in this. Like I saw an artist that like accidentally left a little bit of a watermark, from like a stock site on a piece, and that turned into a whole thing and stuff. And it's just like, you don't really hear about this in like the normal art world. Nobody gives a flying fuck about this at all. Like not even a little bit. So it's just like super interesting coming into this scene. What's the like? Do you think it's because a lot of the artists within the NFT community too are coming from a place that's not art background, where they don't understand these things about like art culture, or like?
I think it's some of that. But I think a lot of the platforms too. I mean, I mean, truth be told, a lot of these like collectors and so forth, they're coming from just the financial area of
Yeah,
crypto. They're just used to just dealing with just zeros and ones and trading and just financial
yeah,
world. Um, and I think a lot of them now are kind of getting clued up to art history though, because it's like you don't want to sound like a complete ignoramus, whatever. But some of them are also think like, oh, screw the old art world. I don't need to know shit about that because I'm in crypto art. Like I
yeah.
get that.
There's something cool about
Sorry,
that too.
yeah. But yeah, I think it's just another thing too is possibly well, before 2 years ago, it's like we're still small fries. We're scared that like somebody's going to come in actually and come after us. And do we have the funds to even fight this back? I'm hoping that now, since the tides are obviously turning, and like entities in the space are actually like, okay, we're actually not afraid of this. Like we can actually fight back. Like if some person comes out with a freaking lawyer team, like we can actually fight back even harder. So I think that's an unfortunate turn of events, but I think that's really what has to happen. But like a lot of these platforms, it's just merely like growing and growing and learning at the same time. And I think a lot of them, hopefully in the long run, they start saying, you know what, we're not afraid of this shit. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna be fine, and we're gonna like actually like support artists that are taking more risks than often than not. So that's my hope at least. And
Yeah, me
and
too. I mean,
yeah.
it sucks. Like, just recently or somewhat recently, I was debating putting a piece up on Super Rare, but it contained, it's all my own photography. And one of the photos though is of a building that had a Gucci logo on it, when I
Yeah.
was in Italy. And but I took the photo, I did all this, everything's all mine, but I couldn't mint it on Super Rare because I wrote somebody at Super Rare and I'm like, is this going to be an issue? I don't want to get fucking banned. And they're like, oh, you never know. And I'm like, that's the answer, I guess. I was like, you never know. Like, maybe. I'm like, but the reason that sucks for me is knowing like I'm doing like this is absolutely 100% above board, and this is a dope piece. And I'm being like, you're suppressing art. That's where I go in my head when I get told like, oh, I don't know. It's like, oh, I know that this is okay, and you're telling me it's not. Now I'm being suppressed. And that's, to me, suppressing art is like a crime.
See,
So
for
like
me,
that's why.
yeah, I have like a interesting kind of viewpoint, and it kind of goes back to the Punk 4156 thing. Is like how much leverage can you pull by using that Gucci in your artwork to the point where it's like it turns into like this fucking shitstorm, right? So it's like you make
Yeah.
this piece and Gucci comes after you, right? And then like all of a sudden Gucci like in this space becomes totally uncool because it's like, oh, you guys are fucking boomers, like sending DMCA's to everybody. It's like fuck buying your shit now. Like it's what happened to Lamborghini. Like remember that Lamborghini shit that went down? It was like all of a sudden Lambos became totally uncool immediately. It's like does a
Tell
brand
me
really want
about
to
this. What happened?
Oh, it was to be honest, what was it? There was something where Lamborghini went and took down some artwork because it had a Lambo in it. And so,
Really?
yeah, and so
Well, because Lambos are a meme within the NFT culture, right? When Lambo
when
showed up,
Lambo,
yeah. So like, yeah. So
yeah,
like to
and
hear that
so
Lambo actually came in, it was like, fuck,
yeah,
dude, the Lamborghini could have came into this space and just crushed.
yeah, and it's like now it's like when no Lambo, fuck Lambos and shit,
Yeah.
So it's like so it's interesting for me right now with like the crypto art space and like how fast information can travel and how fast an artwork can travel and how damaging like shit can get, but it's like a brand going after artists in the space, and all of a sudden there's like this huge like pushback on it, and all of a sudden like a brand that was like respected like back in the day, all of a sudden is like totally uncool. And, like you can turn into like Ed Hardy in a minute, if you're not careful. yeah. And it's like, yeah, and so and that's kind of fascinating to me because I mean you see the Steve Buscemi meme getting thrown around like, hey kids, like hey blockchain kids, like it's Del Taco or fucking Taco Bell here,
Yeah, right?
like, yeah.
Well,
And,
shit, bro. Let's talk about your McDonald's piece real quick because I
yeah.
mean that like what that was, what did you call it on your Twitter? I think at the time you called it like an interesting mimetic series of events or something like that, with about like the Pac tweet, the McDonald's tweet.
Oh, yeah, that was like the
what
tail
led
end.
you to do the McDonald's, or was that the tail end, or however that series went? I remember talking to you about it in person, where you were like, yeah, I just woke up in the morning one day and like just had to make that piece, like it just popped into your head. Let's talk about the McDonald's piece. What happened there?
Yeah. So it was basically kind of just observing like multiple facets of like what was going on in the crypto space at that time. One of them being like, is it a bear market or are we in a super cycle, right? It's like nobody fucking knows. Like we're going sideways and shit, right? So people are like, are things going to crash and burn? Am I in the burning right now? What the fuck's going on? Do I have to go back to my old job? Do I get a 9 to 5? Yeah. It's like all these questions are going on, and I'm kind of observing. It's like you just go down the feed and like someone's saying, "Oh, it's fucking over. PFPs, the fucking floor price is going down," and all this shit. And so I'm kind of just observing that, and then all of a sudden, like I see like McDonald's is like entering the space and like considering like making NFTs and stuff, and kind of just all those things combined, and like possibly like crypto artists have to go back to their jobs again and all this shit. So
didn't McDonald's actually tweet like "Good morning NFT Twitter," something like weird like that? It was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
and it was really funny too, because it was like on the lowest day where like the sentiment was just like we're all fucked, like, and it was so like I think somebody even commented on it. They're like, nobody told McDonald's there was a crash or something like that.
The funny thing was okay, so I made the piece and then that happened. That was the weirdest part. That's what I was saying. I was like, this is just some weird mimetic occurrence, So, and
oh wow,
yeah. So I mint the piece. I made it like 100 editions. The first one, Pac picks up, right? And
the very first one.
Yeah, the very first one, and then the rest of them started trickling down, and then sold them out. People were taking it in pretty well, so I was like, all right, I'm glad you guys dug that shit. But then it was like the next day, like McDonald's said that like, hello, like NFT world.
The series of events is actually that you minted and then McDonald's tweeted?
Yeah, it had no connection whatsoever. None whatsoever. Wow. Like I literally, the next day I saw, I was like, holy shit, like that's fucking weird. And then Pac responds to the tweet and he says, "We're loving it." Right. Yeah. And I'm like, Pac, man, like slow your roll a second, man. Don't be getting the Happy Meal immediately, So yeah, and so I'm seeing all this shit go down, and then I'm just like, this is just too freaking weird. Like it was just a weird like meme occurrence that happened. Just like all this stuff was connected, and then I kind of like topped it off with the Pac Donald's piece. That I took Pac's like logo and I said we're loving it right underneath, and that was kind of just like the. Was
that a one of one?
No, I think it was a multi edition. Yeah, I think
was it?
Yeah, I think it was a multi edition.
Well, I got the McDonald's edition, and I remember I saw it one day and I was like, man, that's really good, because I thought it was just a commentary about we all got to get jobs again, and then everybody says like McDonald's is like that's a meme, like, oh, getting a McDonald's application. So it was like, wow, this is like very spot on to culture right now, the general sentiment in the NFT community right now. He's really capturing it, but I didn't buy it right away. The next day I bought it, and shortly after I bought it, I think is when you sold them out pretty quickly, because I remember the next day you still had 63 left. I was like, wow, I can't believe there's 63 of these left. And that's when I bought. I think I got number 63 or 64. And I was like, I can't believe there's that many of these left. I got to get one. Like people are missing out or whatever. And then by the end of that day, it was sold out. You just like, was that after the McDonald's tweet? Did like the McDonald's tweet happen and then they sold out or something?
I can't remember, but I think, it was like I woke up in the morning and then some more piece were from then. And then like once it hit like the threshold, like there was only a certain amount of these left, then it just got swept.
Then it was just like,
like they were just
sick piece. My opinion, probably like the best crypto art piece this year.
Overall, thank you, man. My favorite part about it though is like writing my employment history. Like right when I got to that part,
super funny.
Yeah, it's like the people that have been in the space for the last like 2.5 years, like they see that and it's like they know, they know exactly the timeline and some of the shit that went down or whatever. So it's like a crypto art history document in a sense.
It was. Yeah, it was one of them. Yeah, exactly. It was a moment where it made me start seeing you in this light even more so, as like he uses. Okay, so there's regular artists who just use culture, like mainstream culture, blah, blah, blah. Then there's these crypto artists in the scene who are using the blockchain as medium, but ROBNESS is using crypto art culture as a medium. Nobody else is really doing that. You know what I mean? Like you're using the culture as a medium.
Max Osiris is also very good at that. I mean,
okay.
we're like, you know, we were like the Bash Brothers at the time, and just kind of like, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, you made a dope piece, man. I gotta, oh man, and it's just we kind of just had the same kind of like communication as far as like style wise, and just like whenever we saw something like that was easily like that had to be challenged of some sort, or just to comment on, like
yeah, I mean, you're like the Duchamp, you know, you're Duchamp. It's like, well, do you know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. It's the same. I mean, is not the totter a urinal in a way?
It's, you know, it's funny. Like I mean, it's not even me saying it, but like there's been Warholian comparisons to it, Duchamp, yeah, a couple other things. But I think that the Duchamp is because it got removed and it was like hidden, and the only place you could see was on OpenSea, and then they brought it back out, you know. And then the Warhol side is more like the pop art, you know. It's like it's just the one central figure in the center.
But the Duchamp side is that Duchamp signed that urinal arm much so that people didn't know it was him, and he did it as an experiment to see, like, well, like, can I do this ridiculous bullshit and still get into a gallery without my name, blah blah blah. So it really was like he was doing the same thing where you're like, oh, you're calling me trash art, here's a trash can. He's like, oh, you know, like he's commenting in the same kind of way, it feels like. So I think that like really like urinal totter. You know?
Yeah, and it's funny to be like, you know, like even with the trash art thing, you know, like I mean a lot of people like make like images with the toter and stuff, and it's funny like because there's also like, oh well, the trash art existed before, you know, and I'm like yeah, for me it's kind of different because like the reason why I used the trash can was because of the commentary I was getting, so it's like it is trash art, but then it isn't like trash art of old. It's like digital trash or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. It's you know, for me, like there is kind of a difference for sure in some respects.
Did you actually take that totter right off of the Home Depot website?
It was a Google image search. So like I did it so quick. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just wanted to find the right image, and I didn't even look where I was grabbing the link from. So it could have been Lowe's. It could have been.
Oh shit! Don't get Lowe's involved now.
Yeah, no, right. Also, Lowe's wants to get a piece of yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, sometimes if like and that came from my vaporwave days too, like which we do. I don't even know if we have time to get into that, but but you know the screen grabbing Google image search thing, that is like a well-known technique for vaporwave, because like a lot of the images are like PNGs and stickers and stuff. So when you see like vaporwave artwork, there's like, you know, Microsoft Windows logos and 3D dolphins swimming through freaking jazz solo cups and shit, like all this weird stuff. But like to compose that stuff, like you would actually just go type vaporwave star.png to get an aggregate of all the PNGs, like stickers and stuff, and then you literally just click and drag, like right click save as on crack, you know, and just going, and then you pull shit, and then you just start smashing everything, like just like the collage stuff, you know. But it's like collage pop. It's or collage computer pop, you know. And so yeah. So you know,
let's just dive right on that. You know, we're just spinning now. Fuck it, vaporwave. We talked about it in person. I definitely wanted to bring it up in this conversation because you kind of gave me a little history when we were in person, and you kind of were blowing my mind. Yeah, with the one thing though that you said was like vaporwave is like the first or the only genre of music that is inspired by visuals, or it's like visual first, visual before music, or whatever, something like that is how you like talk about that. Talk about like maybe how did you come to vaporwave? Obviously it's electronic music. You were in internet culture, so that makes a lot of sense. But like, did you come to vaporwave as like a creator of vaporwave music first, or was it like you got caught onto the aesthetic? Or let's just give me an overview of you and vaporwave, because I mean, you even have a vaporwave book. I mean, you're very, and to me, to my knowledge, up until I talked to you about vaporwave was a kind of music that was born on the internet, that all the titles of songs were basically emojis and emoticons, and I couldn't name any bands or anything. And it was this weird like internet culture music. And then until I talked to you, then you painted in a light of like a true subculture and a true subcultural movement, you know. And so like, tell me about it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I came across it like just randomly, just looking for new music to listen to and stuff, and I just kept seeing this album like called like Macintosh Plus, and that's the quintessential. That's like the Nirvana Nevermind album. It's like it's got all the visual aesthetics actually embedded in the cover. Like you'll see the Helios statue bust. You'll see the checkerboard pattern, some picture of some like VHS out like image. I'm trying to think of the mistranslated like kanji, or like slightly off translated kanji.
And what the color palette seems important to vaporwave too.
Yeah, like the pinks, and like I say most vaporwave has like the color tones of a sunset. I think that's the easiest way I can really tell anybody, like if they're going to make like any type of vaporwave artwork, it's like all the tones you get from a really bitchin' sunset is what's used, and I think that's the vibe that kind of communicates through. But yeah,
some people might not quite understand that because they don't live in California. We're blessed with these easy sunsets. Like when I'm in Wisconsin and I see a sunset and you're like vaporwave colors are sunset colors, I'd be like, that's dumb.
yeah. Like that's not gonna work. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's some
California
sort of beef
sunset. Vibe. You're right.
Yeah.
And it has like the quality that I say about like the right sunset, and the colors. It's not pastels, but it's almost like sorbet colors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was gonna say pastels, but pastels are like a really light tone, I mean, and
exactly. They're like Easter. It's like pale. Pastels are like pale, but it's not that. It's like it's actually saturated and almost singy, but it's like down to and like sorbet.
Yeah, and then there's a little bit of like Art Deco in there. Like there's a lot of like imagery of
and Miami Vice, like 80s.
Yeah, Miami Vice. Yeah, the ocean, ocean colors mixed with whatever the sky hues are mixed. That at least is what I perceive it as. There's so many different interpretations of vaporwave. It's like crazy. Like there's also political ones. I mean, it goes off. It goes off the tracks for sure. But
what is the basis of the music of vaporwave? Like what are they drawing from, or like what is, because you've made vaporwave music, like is that like spinning old records or like down tuning shit like they do in like hip hop production, or what is it? Like what exactly is the structure of vaporwave?
Yeah, structure is it's usually just chopped and screwed, like 80s Muzak, or really, I mean,
Muzak, just explain that. Some people don't know what Muzak is.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so, well, it's funny because I don't want to say Muzak because a lot of those sample sources are from actually dope musicians. Like, I like to say Sade is like one of the queen overlords of vaporwave secretly. Like,
really, that's super interesting. I would have never put that together, but I love Sade.
Yeah, like there's like, if you listen to like a vaporwave radio station, they've got like so many freaking albums on there, like. Because it is like a meme type of music. It's like people cut albums in a day. Like they'll sample shit and just
wow.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And but like a lot of her samples from her music are used. One of the most famous songs is from Diana Ross, but it was Diana Ross during her 80s period. So she's got like this hair that looks like out of like she just came out of like Road Warrior or some shit. Like the cover of the album, it's like Diana Ross is just trying to like be part of the 80s culture and shit. And so a lot of the sample sources are coming from straight 80s, where the drums are like gated and they sound super huge, and there's saxophones and all this cheesy stuff that people would really like detest, right? And here I am like re-listening to it and actually like enjoying it repurposed, but with the imagery that comes with the vaporwave style. Like it totally like warps your whole perception on the music, because now the 100%. Music is it's a soundtrack to this imagery now, and that was the first
time. Would you say that does the imagery come first, though, in vaporwave? Would you say?
I think, well, at first when I started listening to it, I just listened to it. I was like, oh, this is just chopped and screwed like 80s music, and but the more you see the imagery, and it's so strong in its aesthetic style, like it's like the music bleeds into the artwork, and it's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
This is fucking cool. And that was the first time as a musician, like where I've it became more important of the visual style and the visual aesthetic being predominant rather than the music. Like the music will fit its way in there somehow, but like the imagery has to be legit first, you know. And it's crazy. Like, and as a musician, that just blew my mind. It threw me in a whip. I was like, man, music needs to be more like this, you know. It's like music going back to art school. It's like I don't know. I just like the fact that it just got redirected, you know. Yeah.
When do you personally have vaporwave albums that can be found?
I do, but it's
I'm asking for the audience right now.
My dog's trying to break through the door. Right? Give me a second. Hold on.
Sure.
Let me see. Yeah, I do have a couple of vaporwave albums, but they're on a different name. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna. Yeah. You don't have to share if you don't feel like it.
Yeah, it's under a different name, and that name died in a car crash in the metaverse. So,
died in a car crash. Well, yeah. Speaking of, do you have a little bit longer? Can you?
Oh, dude, I got no for sure.
Okay,
yeah, totally.
Because we didn't even touch on the burning of the CryptoPunk yet, which is something very important that needs to be brought up when it's talking about ROBNESS and your lore. Let's talk about it. Tell me about the burning of the CryptoPunk, how it all happened. Number 2317 as like performance art. I honestly don't know much about it, about like what led you there or what your thesis statement behind doing it was. So fill me in. What happened?
Yeah. So I think it's almost been during the summertime. It's going to be close to a year. But I believe I did it in July of last year. And I just was on Twitter and I said, today is trash day. This is a day for all the like trash artists. And I put out a post. I said, if you made trash artwork or you want to make some, just put it on this feed. Put the links in. If someone wants to collect it, it's your day. And I go, thanks for the support. And it's just me just being, stupid on Twitter and saying, look, let's have some fun today, whatever. And then everybody was posting their pieces and stuff like that. I'm like, I got to do something for today, some type of like event of some sort, I got to, just do something interesting. I don't know. And like, I was thinking like Burning Man at the time. And I'm like, the whole burning thing, I burnt a Bored Ape and a Meebit before that. So it was kind of leading up to
I didn't even know.
Yeah. So the first one I burnt was a Meebit, and I like, I was just like, just torch this thing because I didn't like how like Larva Labs was like totally did a cash grab there, that was just my own viewpoint on it. And then I burnt a Bored Ape because a Southern artist named Taylor What the Fuck was getting a DMCA from Yuga Labs for making derivatives of this burnt ape. So I burnt one with him like in solidarity. And then the meme of like that the death like in Sickle meme where he's knocking on the door and like there's blood coming out of every door and there's like the last door. Like I'm not sure if I did it or someone put like a CryptoPunk at the last one. And so like that kind of like hit me and I was like, gonna have to do a trifecta here, And so I go, you know what? I'm going to do something special today. And I literally bought the CryptoPunk that day. And I think it was like for 16
just to burn.
And then I was like
16 ETH.
Yeah. I think it was like 40,000.
How much was ETH at the time?
Yeah, it was, well, collectively it was like $40,000 or something like that. So I bought it. Shit. Yeah, I got in the wallet. And then I was like, got to go through with this now. I was starting to get like, butterflies. I'm like, this is,
yeah, this is insane. I mean,
yeah. And, but there was something telling me, I'm like, you got to now, you can't turn around now. And so I'm like, okay, well, I got to film this thing. Right. And I had previous experience with the Bored Ape one. So like, like I'm like grabbing my phone and like, got to put it up to the screen. I got to do it right. I can only do this once, don't fuck up the, you know what I mean? One
this is a $40,000 video.
Yeah. And so like I put the James Brown like paid the cost to be the boss, just some funny funk jam. Yeah, and that was actually my favorite thing about it, is like, well, what track is going to work good with this, and like some people said, oh, that was a perfect track to play with, but yeah, I filmed it and then burned it, and then I put a tweet out with the video, and then like that shit just spread like wildfire, and they're like, this guy's a fucking idiot, he's fucking crazy, like this guy just blew all his Ethereum. This freaking, there's just so many, interpretations on it. Some people are like, fuck yeah, burn that shit. Fuck CryptoPunks, burn that shit.
How did it? Yeah, man. I mean, that's no small sum of money to just be throwing around. Like, I mean, I don't want to get too far into asking you about that aspect of it, but it's just like, holy shit.
Please
like,
do.
Please do. Well,
that was some of the.
You just flushed money down the toilet. How the fuck did you deal with that? Like, how the fuck did you justify that even? Like, the only thing I can think, and like, I don't need to know about your personal finances or anything, but I'm like, is this guy that fucking rich? So he was just like, yeah, fuck it, 50 grand just down the toilet. I don't need it. Like, what?
Yeah. It's funny because people are like, do you know how many artists' lives you could have saved with that? And then my
I mean, of course, like, that kind of shit.
And they're right. They're actually right in that critique and judgment and so forth. I mean, that's their power to do so. So, but I said, listen, I mean, I literally stopped the trail of the NFT. Like the money went to somebody else. Actually, like I didn't burn the 40K. 40K just got transferred over to somebody else. Yeah. So there.
No shit.
Yeah. So that money is still in the ecosystem. I just stopped the trail of the CryptoPunk dead tracks. It's like this, it's not moving anywhere else anymore, and that's it. But yeah, like 40K did leave my pocket, and but yeah, it got into somebody else's hands. Like I forget who, but hopefully that money.
Do you ever regret it? I mean, that seems like a really stupid question, given like how it took off and everything like that. But like, was there ever a moment maybe like you were like, oh, the market crashed, and you're like, well, I could really use that 50 grand or some shit like that?
Yeah. I got tons of like, like you're a fucking idiot. Like, why did you do that? The week right afterwards, And
well, what about internally though? But like, did you have any battle internally? Or did you feel good about it always?
It stung a bit, but for me, I was like, okay, the reaction of this is just priceless. Like, I mean, I went on to like a Twitter Spaces, and it was like fairly decent size of the room, and I go in there, and like one of the moderators is like, oh, this is the guy that burnt the CryptoPunk, and like let's have a moment of silence for the punk. I was like that is where it's at. Like it almost, it's like burning a religious item of some sort, but it's like you mess with some type of like highly regarded digital item in the space, and that's when I kind of knew. I was like, okay, well, maybe the statement did need to be made. And now, since they're like at ridiculous prices, it's like it's weird. It's like I left a burn mark on the body of the CryptoPunk culture.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna stay there now. Like there's nothing that can be done about it. And even to this day,
No, go on, please.
Yeah. So even to this day, there's people that comment always like, and even like meme wise, like someone says there are only 10,000 CryptoPunks, and there's like one person going, excuse me, there's 9,999 of them, like because of this idiot, like.
You would think that they would love you for it, honestly. Like you made the supply smaller. What about and so in what you just said kind of lies the question about regret that I thought more so. It wasn't like, oh, do you regret burning $50,000? It's more so like, do you regret not holding on to a CryptoPunk that would be worth so much money now or something like that, But of course you don't. I mean, that's kind of a dumb question. But I do want to ask quick about the Obits project, because that's an interesting little PFP project that caught my eye because black and white monochrome skulls that look like CryptoPunks. I was like, this is tight, just aesthetically. Like I wasn't even, when I first saw it, I didn't even know that it was an homage to the burnt punk. And I think even at that time, when I found out, oh, it's an homage to the burnt punk, I'm like, that's awesome. But I didn't even know it was you that burnt the punk. Like I was so new, I was so green. But now knowing, it makes those obits seem even cooler. And I have no idea if that's I'm not a PFP guy. I don't keep track of floors and shit. I have no idea. So I'm not saying anything about that as a project that people should buy it or anything. I have no idea, but it's cool. Are you associated with that in any way, or did they reach out to you at all, or did you wake up one day and be like, holy shit?
Yeah, it's funny because it's actually both. Because I got approached by the head of the Obits, and I'm terrible with names, and just like he's gonna kill me for not remembering, but
Well, shout out to Obits. We're talking about it.
Obits for sure. It's, dude, honestly, I actually love the project. I think it's aesthetically, it looks freaking dope.
Yeah,
I like the black
dope
and white.
as hell. The dopest PFP project, in my opinion, like as just purely aesthetic. Because I love bit work, you know, and then like bit skulls. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got one that looks like me, you know. I got
I got one that looks like Jim Jarmusch. Apparently, like they were saying, oh, you got one that looked like, and I looked at the, I'm like, that this is like a skull Jarmusch right here. Yeah, and yeah, so the head of the Obits, like he hit me up on Twitter, and I think it was just like maybe a couple months after, or it was after I burned the thing, and they were asking me like, oh, do you mind if we like do a derivative project of the burnt punk? And at the time I was like, do whatever you want, you know, like I don't care, like I'm honored, this and that. And sometimes like I'll get DMs and I'll just say something really quick, like yeah, like you don't even have to ask me, just do it. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate it, but you can, like, everybody knows my stance, like you can take anything I want, anything I have, and use it. And so I hate to say it, but I didn't think much of it at the time. And then months went on after that, and then and all of a sudden I hear like this project sells out, and it's called Obits and stuff, and I saw it on the feed, and then I'm like, oh, that's cool, like this thing sold out like really quick. And then I go to the website, and then I come to find out it's based on the burnt punk. I'm like, holy shit, like this whole project was made because of the actual, the punk, whatever. And then I find out that, the number, the amount that they minted is the reverse number of the CryptoPunk. So they minted 7,152 of them, right? So now it's even more part of the lore of that. And I was just totally honored. And I hit the guy up. I go, listen, man, dude, congratulations. That's freaking awesome. Like totally honored. And I bought a couple. I think I got a good, like about 7 or 8 of them or something like that, and nice. But yeah, I mean, I think that project actually in the long run is gonna last, because CryptoPunks are gonna last, and I think stylistically, like I told those guys, I could see some of those skulls on like leather jackets and shit. Like I could actually see shit, it's like a different.
Yeah, totally. Me too.
Yeah,
I dig it a lot. They're like, I don't remember how we started talking, but like just real casually, like started talking to those guys too. And I think they posted some of my work or something on their page, but it made me realize, like, I think that project came out like 6-7 months ago now, 6 months ago, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. But they're really active still. That's an active community. And the people who started it are like still doing stuff. I know that they have like a street campaign and stuff. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know anything about PFPs or whatever, but it does seem that it takes an active community, and the founders have to be active in it, and it seems like they are. So I see that project taking off at some point, doing something with it, especially like it's so strong visually. I don't see how it couldn't,
Yeah, it's just a matter of people sticking in for the long haul.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really like, yeah. Like when people talk about like longevity in the space, it's really just a matter of like, look, how long can you swim? Like, do you actually give a shit about the project you're doing? Yeah. Is this something really dear to your heart, or are you just aiming to just kind of flip this and just like kind of like walk away from it? Because, I mean, that's like probably like it happens in every era, like the .com era or whatever. There's people that were really in it and it could go for the long haul because they actually enjoy it, and then the rest of them kind of like come in on the hype, and they see the numbers and they want to reach that number, and then they're out. They tell people like we really give a shit, but not really. So
lip service. There's lots of it.
Yeah, and lip service to themselves too. I think that people lie to themselves. Oh, yeah, I'm really in it. And it's like, actually, I don't give a shit.
You're playing yourself.
So for like the PFP thing, actually, everybody thinks that I like hate PFPs or whatever and this and that. Like, I don't. Like I actually find it fascinating, and like actually the small idea of like taking some NFT profile picture and using it as a profile picture as a flex or whatever, just like socially, just a very small idea just turned and went freaking huge, and like just totally.
Well, that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes tons of sense. I mean, you just extrapolate into the future, and we already see within the last few years, especially with COVID and shit, how digital our lives have become even more and more so. And like, it doesn't matter how much money you have when you're online. It's like nobody can see your fancy clothes, nobody can see your Lambo, nobody can see your mansion,
Yeah.
but they can see a PFP. And if they know, oh, that PFP costed $100,000, now you have your signifier of you're important.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see how people are not seeing that, you know, like as we go more and more into the digital age, but like
Yeah.
why those are valuable, why celebrities are starting to buy them. It seems the writing's on the wall, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want
The
to touch on
celebrity
another
thing.
PFP product.
Yeah, like
What's
the
that?
celebrity thing when they're buying all these ridiculous prices, like for me, I hate to say it, but it's like their ticket to like stay relevant. You know,
Yeah,
they're
it
paying
is
this ridiculous amount
relevancy.
of money just to be like, hey kids, I have a
Yeah,
PSP now, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, you can come in the club now. Like that's how I really
right.
see it. Yeah, and
Well, yeah, I think that's how it really is. But
yeah,
I want to ask you about one more PFP project because I thought of it when I thought of Obits was the Kevin Punks because I thought those were another funny one that were based off of like a meme cultural like event that happened within the NFT space, much like the
yeah.
Punks or the not the Punks, the Obits, where it's based off of this. And then from my understanding, well, no, just tell me about the Kevin Punks because I heard of it from you, and I was like, that's fascinating. I dig that.
Yeah, yeah. The Kevin thing is like it's funny that everybody thinks like the meme is dead, and I don't know. Uh, who's to say? You never know when if a meme
Can a meme die?
dies.
Like, is there such? Yeah, what's a meme dying? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think well, the Kevin is like the character. I just say it's like the Frankenstein of the shittiest parts of PFP world. Like this character is like the summation of all the slime and crap from the discords and all that shit. Just like the abomination is here in like a visual format, and so that's why I was like, I thought the Kevin thing was actually kind of funny, and like
where did this character show up though? Like, where
it
did
came up from some, I'm terrible with the history of that shit, but it was some project that was released and they made a bunch of promises about some metaverse and shit and it never happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
right.
so
So that I do know. Yeah, that is what I heard. I heard it was like this huge hype. A whole bunch of people bought into this project, and then it came out, and it was just like the biggest flop ever. But there
yeah,
was
it's
this
all
one
shitty. But yeah,
like shining beacon within it all of just like this Kevin character that was just this perfectly ridiculous shit. You know that people took out of that as like a meme for this moment of oversaturated PFP projects,
yeah,
promising a lot, delivering a little et cetera. And then they made like much like the Obits thing, they made a PFP project out of it.
yeah. And
But
the
then
funniest,
Pac bought a bunch of them.
yeah, yeah. And then Pac was like showing these Kevin punks, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, you fell into the trap, sir. Like no,
Yeah.
but the Kevin thing's funny because like even for me when I was like looking at it, I didn't realize like it was actually a trait in the character list. Like it's actually like
What
the
was?
trait is Kevin. Yeah, and I think it's like the Kevin trait, and so I think that's part of like that's another kind of driving factor of the ridiculousness of the character. It's like this ugly like quasi, like I don't know.
Yeah, very Quasimodo. Very, very
Yeah, yeah,
Quasimodo.
yeah. He's like
I got the
he's
Kevin
like
trait.
this freak.
That's
He's
so
the freak of the
fucking funny.
PFP world, and I champion this freak, and people are saying, "Oh, it's dead. Kevin's dead." I'm like, "We'll see in a year from now when half of you guys
Yeah.
disappear." And I post up
So
Kevin.
they made those Kevin punks. How many of them did they make?
Oh, I don't know the actual number. I can
I don't
check
think
right
it's
now.
many
Hopefully
though.
I'll close this
It's
window.
very. I'm
Sorry, go ahead.
pretty sure it's not many. I don't. It's not like $7,000 or something. It's not like 7,000. But I thought it was just another really funny one. I love the commentary pieces. Like the where you're like talking in real time about you're building history. You're like forming legends. Like in the moment. And that is you in a nutshell. Like you're like the one just solidifying the legend of all of this as we go. Like it's super inspiring. I mean,
Oh
you're like
no,
I said, like you're one of my favorite artists in this space. Like you're familiar with Richard Prince, right? The
yeah,
artist, like in
yeah,
yeah, like I said, like when I first saw your work, I related you to like Richard Prince. That's like the the crypto art Richard Prince, like playing with ideas of copyright and playing with memetics and playing with culture of this and everything. It's all like, you're just so spot on with it. You seem like a necessity to the entire thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're so ingrained in it, and it's so you that it seems like it's one of those things where it just seems like it played out perfectly. Like you were a part of the evolution. Like you were the stage of evolution that without you it couldn't have grown on, you know? And I appreciate all of this information that you're giving us, everything that you've told us. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to ask, like, personally, or not even personally, I want to show you, like, where do you mint? Like, what are all the places you mint?
Yeah. Oh man. Shoot. I mean, I got actually a lot of my work that like kind of gets overlooked is like on OpenSea because I have my own contract. Like during the early days of OpenSea, we all like a lot of the OG crypto artists had their own like store contracts. So there, it's almost like the PFP like thing. I actually like have some floor on my contract and shit. It's kind of funny now that I look at it. I look at it totally different now, you know, instead of just a collection. And now it's like a bunch of like, you know, collectible art in the collection. It's freaking weird, but I have worked there. Minted on known origins, super rare, rareable. The rareable pieces are like all kind of buried in the sea of rareable. The rareable has its own ocean.
Didn't you mint on Tezos through Rarible for that show? For the show that we were both in?
Yeah.
Shout out to Vertical, by the way.
Yeah. Nicole, what's up? And that was cool because I did mention to Rarible, I go, you know, you guys should be plugging more blockchains into your platform. Why not? You know, do it. And then I'm not saying they did it because I said it, but they went ahead and did it. I'm like, oh, that's rad. You know, that's cool. And I minted on Tezos. I got a public account on there, but I also like made an anonymous account.
That's right. You were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was primarily like my frustration that like Xcopy and Pac got to have all the fun, you know? So I was like, you know, and another thing too is like, okay, like, you know,
you mean with their anonymity?
Yeah. Like the reason why I liked Ticket Nunk was because you could just, you know, load in there. It's a platform, and the platform is well designed. I like the aesthetic of it, and
I love it.
And a lot of artists that are coming from there are like fucking amazing, you know. So great community and stuff. But for me, I you know, it was this new lease on life almost. I was like, wait a second, like I can just put an address up here and not have to put any real like info, and just start dropping pieces and see if I can, you know, have a new kind of artistic life on the side real quick, and
it's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, like the platform kind of changed my outlook on what I wanted to make there. So I was making like some, but I'll just say I was making artwork specific for the platform itself, like
in Hickok Nook.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
There's something about I've had this conversation with other people about these platforms. Actually, I think I had this conversation with Nicole actually at some point in a podcast, but other people as well about like on Tez, it seems like the platforms influence the art that goes on the platforms more so than like anything on ETH, you know, like where it's like the kind of art that you're seeing pop up on Tezos is somehow like tied to the platforms that it's like the way that Hickok Nunk looked feels like it influenced the work that went on Hickok Nunk, like exactly like you're just saying. Yeah.
And another thing too is a lot, well, you're used to this because you did the Tumblr thing, right? Back in the day, right?
Yeah. Big time. Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So the way Hickok Nunk's kind of built, it's kind of like that in a sense.
Like, very much. Yeah, totally, dude. Like when I got turned on to Hickok Nunk, that's exactly what I said. I was like, holy shit, I get this big time. Like this reminds me so much of early Tumblr days, like curating a blog, but it's almost exactly the same in the way like I use it too. When I use Tumblr, I would curate a blog in such a way that I would use my own blog as like my own mood board. You know, I was like looking at my own shit and not my own work even, but what I curated together to see the relations between the pieces and see subconsciously maybe patterns through this work that I'm not coherent of, but my selections show me, right? I think this is a really important process that the internet actually has facilitated. But with Hickok Nunk, it's the same exact thing. I use it the same exact way, only I get to pay the artist whose artwork I'm putting on my mood board, which feels better. It's awesome. Like, so I understood Hickok Nunk right away. Like it was Tumblr, and only you get to pay your friends. You know, you get to pay the artist and it feels good for their inspiration, because then, I mean, I go on my page and I'll look through and see the connection and be like, oh yeah, I see myself in this 5-piece combination that I've never would have seen before or something.
Yeah, and the funny thing is about that is that like you have a connection to that from a previous platform. Max Capacity also, he did Tumblr. If I would say probably if Xcopy didn't blow up probably sooner than that, he probably would have used Ticket Nunk. You know, it just probably felt more natural. Oh, so I think it was just like this platform that kind of felt similar and just more comfortable. But also too, I like, you know, the real minimalist design. Like it was just led into some super futurism, and I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome. I like this shit.
Oh yeah, it's like the underground of the NFT or the crypto community. It felt like when I saw Hickok Nunk, you know. Are you familiar with this newer test site called 8Bidot?
Was it called 8 the Dog?
No, 8Bidot.
Oh, no.
I think it's how you pronounce it. It's 8, the number 8, BIDOU. And it's all 8-bit. Like you can only 8x8 grid, 8-bit.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah, I haven't. It's funny. It's
awesome.
Yeah, I might have to make some pieces on there.
Well, so I saw it. I got turned on to it by Die with the Most Likes, actually. Shout out, Mark. He was telling me how liberating it was and how freeing it felt to just like make these 8-bit things and throw them up on this site. And the site is very, even like in some ways, anonymous and very stripped down. It's like almost like Hickok Nunk, but different. In just the way that it's like somebody who didn't know what it was would come there, like end up on that page and be like, what the fuck do I do here? You know, like, but it's super liberating. There's a 24x24 monochrome minter that they also have, and they're working on like a 16x16 minter and a 24x24 minter in color, but they have a 24x24 monochrome, and I've minted a few on there, and it is super liberating. It's just like, this feels so good. Like, so I know that you would have a good time with it. Definitely get on there. 8Bidot.
A part of like crypto art history that kind of gets forgotten is like there was this project called Pixel Chain. It's on and it's on chain. I'm pretty sure this project does the same thing, like where you can pull up they mint the actual color data onto the blockchain, right? So Pixel Chain, like during the whole super rare thing, Pixel Chain came out. Myself, Xcopy, Coldy, you name it, Hackatow, everybody, we all made pieces on there. So like if you go to the Pixel Chain store, like you can type any of our names and like you'll see the ones that we made and stuff. Xcopy made a bunch, and then we there was a period of like pixelism, and then we just went but the project is like just sitting there all dormant. You know, there's like, you know, compared to a PFP project, I mean, there's only like 4,000 pieces made on the thing, so it's even not that much considering the collection. But back then I thought it was huge. But
pixelism is a great term. Is that in the history books yet? Pixelism?
I don't know, but I wrote that in like one of the titles of one of the ones that I made.
Yeah,
like because I was
really good. I dig it.
I was doing a bunch of self portraits, like of just me. I was just like ROBNESS 1. I just thought it'd be funny to do self portraits in like 8-bit style. And
it could be like anybody.
It's just like I've never done self portraits like in the whole space, and I'm like, I think it'd be funny to do like you know, one in freaking, you know, just digital style, or 8-bit style. So yeah,
I love that. What you just said made me think of something that I thought of yesterday when I was like, apparently 8Bidot is in the process of being modified to prevent fraud, so you can't actually use their site right now, but on the top of the site, it says how many pieces have been minted on the site, and it does on the monochrome one too. But it says here on this one, there's only 15,855 right now on 8Bidot. And when I thought about that yesterday, I think on the monochrome minter, there's less. Like it was like 7,000 or even like 1,500. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, shit, like compared to a PFP project, there's less total pieces on this entire site. Like if people want to talk about rarity, you know, like right now, you're at a point where there's less these in this entire site than there is CryptoPunks or something, you know, like interesting.
Like the length of just the size of things have gotten like really it's changed up. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
And seeing things from the inception point too, that's what I find interesting about crypto, is like that it's so new, that it's so small. Like I love that about the crypto scene, is that like when things are small, they're actually fucking small. Like they're actually like people really don't know about it, you know. And it seems like within culture, just like our IRL everyday culture, it seems by the time you find any subculture, it's already somewhat exploited. Everybody, you know, it's somewhere doing something. But within this NFT stuff, within this crypto stuff, it seems like you can discover a subculture that's really small, and like somebody's like, yeah, nobody knows about this, and it's true. People literally don't know about that shit, and I think that is awesome. I love that because I'm a student of subculture. I feel like you are too in some ways. You're a participant in subculture for sure, but you're also like a student of subculture, like you know, like in a historical, anthropological way. Yeah. So like, I'm sure you feel that too. Like the element of this hall as being like one of few, you know, like this is a real subculture. In my opinion, in some ways, I guess you could make an argument if you wanted to, that it's like almost the only real subculture alive today, right now, right? That's truly subculture. Like that's truly sub, because every other culture has been exploited to fucking high heaven. There isn't. And then what's happened to all subcultures is that they get like, you know, amalgamated kind of together and turned into some hybrids or whatever. And then, so like, there is no such thing as real subculture anymore. And I think that I at least, maybe I'm making it up or maybe I'm romanticizing it, but the crypto art scene to me is like a real subculture. I think there's something there. What, do you think so too, or no? Am I?
Oh yeah, I mean it's well, it's funny because of like the PFP and crypto art and like now the like what is like an NFT, and they're saying NFT art. I just think like the NFT thing is like it's going to permeate every industry. You know, it's going to be an industry of industries in a sense. It's just an underlying technology. And so, but I think a lot of people conflate that, and they just, you know, they just automatically put art to it, but it's a lot more than that.
It's not.
Yeah. And so, but I love seeing how there's all these like these micro communities just popping out. And I mean, I try my best to swim around. I love swimming around and finding little pockets and making
it's obvious.
something there. And yeah. And to be honest, I constantly, you know, I'm changing styles all the time. So it's just like, it's almost like a healthy thing for me. It's just to find something that's kind of like new that I can kind of mess with.
Yeah. What do you say you're like the most inconsistent, the most consistently inconsistent artist or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like it's sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish I had like a consistent style. It'd be a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier for collectors to
right.
Like, know exactly. But
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I thought that about collectors yesterday, even just thinking like, man, I started my first mints as paintings, and now I'm doing like collages, and now I'm painting on pictures. Like collectors probably don't know what to do with me. I don't know if I'm doing myself a disservice, but I'm the same way where I like to jump around a lot. Like I don't have a lane at all, you know, like, and I mean, even to the degree, sometimes I wish I was just a painter, because to me, it's like, well, it would be really nice to not have to like constantly invent, you know, like you're an inventor too. Everything you make is an invention. And it would be like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to just wake up and like just continue painting a picture? That sounds nice, relaxing.
My hands can only do so much, you know, like my paint strokes can only do so much, and it's going to gravitate to this style constantly, like, and I'm stuck there, you know. And so, yeah, I think about that too. I'm right there with you, man. Like, it's a boon, but it's also a blessing. Like,
wouldn't have it any other way, but like, yeah, definitely the grass is greener on the other side, it seems like sometimes. But I think, I mean, it's very obvious to me, at least, why I gravitate to your work. I feel like we're very similar in a lot of those ways, and with the way that we relate to art and what we see art. Like, to me, I've always gravitated towards artists who, like, they make artifacts of their life, but their life is the art, you know, like they live their art, you know, like they're a world, like their inner world, it's the real art, and they're just, everything they make is giving you a view into their inner world. And these are all just artifacts of the art piece of the person's life. And I see you like that as well. You know, I love that. To me, that's the highest form of art. Like that to me is art, you know, like art with capital A.
And I mean, right when I saw your work at that show, I mean, my biggest complaint to myself was I didn't know about Jesse Draxler's work beforehand.
Oh man, thank you.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, your shit's badass, straight up. Like,
appreciate it,
stuff, man. Like, just the way you play with the collage stuff. I mean, you take like, it feels like I should be seeing some type of something wrong with the form, but you cut them so perfectly and you make them work that it's like you can actually look at it as a form on its own, you know, like an actual put together form. And that's just
in
me,
many
like,
ways it's like
stuff.
No, I mean, that's something I hear, you know, and it, like, there's something illusory to that, where it's like you look at it and you think you see the right thing, but then you look at it a little bit more and you're like, wait, that's all fucked up. But then you're like, wait, but it still looks right. Like,
Yeah, it looks right. It's genius.
No,
it's genius. I love it.
It's not. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's something I pay a lot of attention to. I'm gonna wrap this up with, and it's probably not gonna be super quick because you're back on Super Rare now. That brings us, let's bring this full circle. You got back on Super Rare. How did you get back on Super Rare? What happened, and what are you gonna do with it?
Okay, so it was right before Christmas. And I go on the Super Rare account just to, if I get a bid, I can still, handle the bid stuff, but I'm just not whitelisted anymore. So I can't mint,
You can't mint. You couldn't.
Yeah. Or I couldn't at the time. And so it was, 2 years of that. And then, it was like right before Christmas, I checked my account and, all of a sudden I see the 64-gallon toter back on my portfolio. And that was like just almost a shock to the system. I was like,
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, okay, the site's broken. Refresh, F5, and it wasn't going away. And I'm like, holy shit, the 64-gallon toter is back on the platform. And then I put it out on Twitter. I was like, hey, I think we won here. I think the debate has its conclusion, And I mean, to Super Rare's credit, I mean, I think Zach put it out. They said, they said that like it was one of their biggest misses, and they didn't have to say that shit. They could have just put it up and like said whatever, but it was nice enough for him to say that. And I just thanked everybody. I said, listen, man, I mean, this trash can would not be pretty much anything without the support of like, the trash artists or just artists in general that like empathize towards it. And so, yeah, they put that back on. And then the Super Rare artist community got together. Pindar Van Arman was like big on setting up a precedent to get people to vote on the Super Rare DAO to get myself, Max Osiris, and Second Realm and yeah, they let us back in. I can actually mint now. Max Osiris is mint.
And did they do that? Did they do that through that whole like using tokens to vote system?
Yeah. And I specifically because I have a significant portion of like Rare. They hooked me up on the drop. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm not going to vote for myself at all. Like, I'm just going to let I'm going to let people, decide for themselves. And if I get back in, that's great. But I just don't want to be like forcing it, like,
yeah. And I think a lot of people would, and like, that's to your credit, big time to your credit. Like, and this is something that came up earlier with what you were talking about like, oh, I just bought that totter that the guy minted on whatever. Is that you live what you preach, like you live it. Like, so even with the Super Rare thing, I'm sure you would love to be back on Super Rare and have history somewhat corrected and have them admit like, yeah, we were wrong for kicking you off. I'm sure those would feel nice, regardless of how humble you are. That would just naturally. But because you are who you are, you let it up to the system. You let it up to, you're like, I believe in Web3. I preach Web3. I'm going to let Web3 decide my fate. And look what happened. It turned out in your favor. It paid you back. That's fucking blockchain karma, bro.
Yeah, that's the crypto art family. They're just coming up to bat, and it's just like it's nice to be loved as a family member almost. So it was nice, man. So I'm back, but as far as minting, I going back to the Hicketnunk thing, like I'm looking at the platform a little bit differently now, and I'm like, I can mint there, but I don't have to. But I'm like, what am I going to make there? You know what I mean? So creatively, I don't even know what I want to even mint on there yet, and what I want to say on there yet. So I'm just it's there, but like right now I'm having fun.
It almost seems like. Yeah, it seems like there there might be pressure. I mean, but knowing you probably, I don't know if you ever feel pressure, but there's probably a sense of pressure that, oh shit, like this was a big deal. Like, I'm the founder of Trash Art. I got kicked off Super Rare, which was kind of the impetus of all of Trash Art. And now I'm back on, and my first piece has to say something, right? Yeah. It has to be, I don't know, maybe there's pressure there. I don't know. But do you feel that at all?
That is true. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm thinking. It's like I'm.
Yeah. You should mint like the Hicketnunk mint page on Super Rare.
Yeah. I mean, Pac did that with I forgot what he put on. He used like a web applet or something. Or no, it's Hicketnunk inside of Hicketnunk. That's what he did.
Perfect.
But I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for me, it's there. But I'm just. whatever strikes creatively, if it feels right,
Yeah.
then I'll mint something on there. But yeah, I mean, I'm having fun outside of it still. I'm like minting unknown
Yeah, I was
origin, like
gonna
with
bring
you.
that up too. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. We have a collab up. I love that. Like that was all like I thought it was so funny that night. I just kept on thinking the Robness experience because that's what I wanted. Like I didn't to me it wasn't about the work even. It was about I want to experience a Robness mint. So like the fact that you even texted me like late at night and was like, let's do this. I was like, this is perfect. Everything's perfect. I don't care about selling or anything. It has nothing to do with that. It's just like I want the Robness experience.
Oh
And
man.
you know,
No, it
and I
was.
love the piece. I love what you did to it. And it's fucking cool. But
You did most of it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's phenomenal. No,
well, I
I
mean,
mean,
I just that totter, the silhouette of the totter got burnt into my skull. Like just the silhouette. I'm obsessed with like silhouettes and stuff or whatever, you know, like graphic shapes and stuff. And never in my life did I think like that a tottered trash can, you know, like the wheels on the back at the angle that you chose and everything would create this most iconic silhouette. It's very, in my opinion, at least, it just got burned in my head, and I just had to fuck with it. And when I was making the piece, I actually thought I was thinking about trash art a lot. I mean, I even wrote you before you knew I was working on a trash art piece, saying like, "Would you say that any piece that goes through Photomosh is trash art?" And you were like, "Yeah, blah blah blah," kind of, or explain. The reason being was because I wanted to know, like, if I just give you something, you put it through Photomosh, can we call it trash art? I was planning it, but when I did that painting too, it was like this has to be so fast because it's trash art. Like I don't, it can't be good even. I can't be worried about it being good. So like even me painting that was just like spray cans, 5 seconds, drip, drip, drip. Okay, done. You know, like I wanted it to be trash.
yeah.
So that was a real honor to me to work with you.
Oh,
Let's
it's
burn
truly
that
an
soon.
honor that
Because
that you wanted to work with me. I mean, most of the time, like even collabs, everybody's like saying the other way around, like they're afraid to approach me. And I'm like, no, that's the other way around. I'm usually deathly scared of
that's what
not
you said.
delivering
Yeah.
for the other party. It doesn't. Yeah, it's always that. And like with our piece, I mean, shoot, you did it, but like for me, it's like I tried a bunch of different things and it was like overkill. And then this is like the one time where I'm like, okay, it's better not to say as much and put some slight like graininess that's just like
Yep.
it was like this is it. This is all
Yeah.
it
No,
needs
I
to
mean,
do. Yeah.
I think it's perfect the way that it is. You know, I already thought like right when I saw it, I'm like, this is a piece that in like 5 years I'll even like more than I like right now. You know, like I can
Yeah.
tell that it's that kind of piece. But you've used the word noir a lot with me. You know, like very like, and so when you returned it, I was like, he really made this even more noir. You know, it's like it's flickering. It's flickering as if it's an old black and white movie screen or something. You know, like
Yeah.
it vibes to me. It has that feeling of like noir movies, but I mean, I don't know how you know how you did that.
Yeah.
So that's magic to me. You did and it's all that's photomosh, like crazy. You know, I forgot to bring this up, but you were saying that you're having a lot of fun right now, and that's kind of perfect for this quick to close this off because I do believe this brings us pretty present that you were just in France
Yeah.
for was this the first proper trash art show?
Uh, I would say first proper trash art show. Benoit from Museum of Crypto Art was technically the first one to put the toter in like live display. It was a crypto art show. As far as like trash art, as far as like all the other artists like put together, and this is like the first like real culmination of it. And to their credit, like Levant Gallery of Austin, they knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, they said it was going to be a surprise when I show up there, and I mean, what I did
What do
was
you mean?
curate.
What do you mean going to be a surprise?
Yeah, they were
What was
setting the
going to
thing
be a
up. They're like,
surprise?
we're not going to show you any pictures. But when you get here,
Really?
yeah, I know they're being so cool about it.
That's
And
awesome.
the work that I put in was just curating all the pieces. So literally, I just had to like go into my brain and remember the last 2 years of just, oh, that piece was dope, that piece was dope, that piece, and just trying to find all of them again and getting all the just the info and stuff like that, and just basically curating it. And so
Right
I sent
on. And I saw
pieces.
like pictures of the installation. They did really cool shit where they like actually put like screens and trash cans. There was like installation aspects to it. It wasn't just like screens on walls. It looked really cool. Was it
Yeah,
a cool experience in there?
Oh, it was awesome. Everybody really dug it. And it was just cool. It was actually like a bunch of displays of various displays, you know, they had some that were on phones. They had like, there was a wall with just like maybe like 10 phones of the artworks. And then we had like, you know, various laptops, just basically all mediums of how we view crypto art, which I
Yeah,
thought was actually pretty cool. Like after I was looking, I was like, oh,
very
shit.
cool.
Yeah, it's like this is actually how most of the digital art is viewed, just on multiple devices and stuff. So yeah, we pretty much had the whole gamut there. And on top of that, like Caroline and Albertine, I mean, they took these projectors and they were projecting onto like other projections. So they had this like collage going on the back wall, and I thought that was super cool. Like some of the pieces were overlapping each other. I'm like, oh, that's sick.
That's
Like, you
super
know what I mean?
cool.
Like
Yeah.
using multiple projectors and positioning them in different ways. And so just inventive ways of displaying the stuff. So I was totally
It
blessed,
sounds
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pictures look awesome. Was there a good turnout? Was there a lot of people
Yeah.
there?
Great turnout. And a lot of people that, you know, that I've known for years showed up, and it's just like,
Awesome.
we didn't even skip a beat. It was like just
That's the shit.
shooting the shit like it was like last Friday, you know, but I could just see them in the flesh now. So yeah, no, it was great.
You
Paris is
know, that
awesome.
is that's a common feeling I've gotten around all these crypto events that I've been going to as well, where it's, you know, I was at NFT NYC last year, and recently was Freeze, and over like close to the holidays, I went to, I was in Italy for all that shit. And like every time I go to these IRL events, and it's such positive, like it feels really good. Like it
Yeah.
really does. Like, and I'm wondering if that was kind of the vibe there too. It's like, there's no pretension. Like I used, so like before NFTs, I didn't really go to art shows. I would go like to mine kind of, but I didn't even want to fucking go to those. Like I didn't want to go to my own openings, you know, and like other people's openings was like, what am I going to do there? Like I don't, but when I go to these NFT things, it feels way more like open, less snobby. I don't know what the word is, but like, it's a really good feeling. It
Yeah.
feels good.
Yeah, I think you are right. It's less snobby, you know. I think it's just
No,
the digital realm taking over, and you know, I attribute a lot of it to like electronic music and just that type of culture, and like, you know, collaborating with artists. It's like it happens a lot more
and
now. And
inclusivity, and yeah,
right,
less judgment, I feel. And like, even like I can say this on even a personal level, that before NFTs I was judgmental towards other art. I just was, you know. And like I came into NFTs and I felt like I was almost forced to get rid of that judgment, to allow the judge, like, quit judging, just look at it and like just feel it. They're like, and I would do that already, but like, yeah, you just don't judge art when the art is so different everywhere you look, which like in the NFT community it is. It's like, well, how can you even compare these things? Like this is, they're not even in the same world. How do you judge then? You know, like what is judgment at that point? And it had a systematic, and I appreciate that. Like that's something I feel like I've benefited a lot from the community and being part of this NFT thing. Not to get off on a tangent, but leading into 2.5 hours of taking up your time, I thank you so much for that.
this is a great rap, man. I'm
I
enjoying it.
know, I agree. I
Yeah.
actually want to ask you, just like, what is your vision of the future here? Like what do you see happening like next? Like I don't even want to ask you like down the line, you know, because whatever, that's, you know, but like what's happening next? What's happening now that you see that's really interesting, that like you want to pull on these threads, and you see within maybe this year happening, or something, just because you are so dialed in to everything that it seems like you probably have premonitions. I would love to hear some.
Yeah. I mean, just real quick, I think just more in real life shows that are. I mean, like the last Trash Art show, that was like a different, you know, take on how to like present this stuff to the public. I just think, just, you know, you know, you got Super Chief, you got all these different, you know, crews coming up, and they're all going to be throwing their own shows and their own parties and stuff like that. And there's going to be a wall that's, you know, there's going to be tons of walls that get broken down with how do we perceive, like, or how do we immerse ourselves in like the digital art realm and just like public spaces. I think that's the next step. I think with, you know, with COVID and all this shit, we had to be kind of, you know, insular and just be at work. But I think a lot of people are burrowing out now and starting to enjoy it a little bit, you know, out in the public. And I mean, honestly, can't wait for all the events, you know. I mean, they're popping out like
Yeah, me
crazy
too.
right now. So, and that hasn't even, the music and art thing hasn't even crossbred yet fully.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So when that happens, forget it. So it's gonna be a good time for sure.
Music is we're gonna do a whole piece on music and NFTs. Like I'm still sorting that out through my head, like how to do that right, but I know that whenever that does get figured out right, it's going to be huge. What about as far as like, NFTs aren't going anywhere, right? You don't think? Or like, the mass adoption, does that just continue? Do you think there's a weird, or like when I think about extrapolating into the future is like, what happens to us as artists within the NFT community? And this I've seen when McDonald's is making NFTs and when NFTs are being used as movie tickets and like shit like that. Do we still exist? Like, are we still crypto artists? Like, are people still buying NFTs as art pieces when they're just being used in everyday life?
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, Twitter is like this, like I keep saying, it's this like cerebral like town hall, and everybody's just yelling and shouting, and then there's going to be buildings, and there's going to be the McDonald's, and there's going to be all these buildings. But I think crypto art with Twitter is such a that's pretty interesting to me too. That Twitter just bootstrapped to the NFT world, like, and I mean, there are reasons, like, because crypto started off on Twitter. Really, a lot of the personalities that became like really renowned, like a blockchain space, they started here in 2014, and they just found it easier to communicate through Twitter, and that way, that's the reason why everything gravitates here, because literally the whole economy is here. And I think that's the reason why Elon Musk threw down freaking like $4 billion on the Twitter stock, because he gets the fact that, like, holy shit, crypto lives here. It doesn't live anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't live on Instagram or Facebook or any of that. Everything is
they say it's going to, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to integrate NFTs into Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, and I think it might be a little too late. See, but
did you catch any, like, since you were part of the crypto thing since the very beginning, did you ever catch hate? Did it, like, so as an artist coming from the traditional world, coming into crypto, I mean, like, Instagram was just a hate wave, like, I ignored it and circumvented it for the most part because I don't give a shit, what if people are gonna like not like what I'm doing, like, I don't care at all. But like, it was just a dumpster fire of hate for fucking NFTs on Instagram for so long. But you've been doing NFTs since the very beginning. Did you catch any of that at all, or were you just completely like, I don't give a flying fuck?
Well, the Bitcoin community never supported us in the beginning, because they're like,
oh, for real. Well, even when you were minting on Bitcoin, they were like, fuck
yeah. I mean, we never got any support. We got some support from like some notable figures in the space, and they would actually buy some rare pepes and stuff. But as far as and still to this day, that's my problem with the Bitcoin community, is they just look at the charts. They look at the charts and like what price Bitcoin is at. It's like you guys do not see that literally everything around you is being developed like crazy. Like you guys literally have like cognitive dissonance where you cannot see McDonald's is going to Ethereum. Like, like it's just yeah. It's like, and I used to be like that. I mean, before I went to Ethereum, like I was like, fuck crypto kitties and, crypto punks, whatever. That's on Ethereum, whatever, MetaMask. Like I had that in the beginning, but I got out of it. I grew out of it, and a lot of people in the Bitcoin space right now, unfortunately, like still has that, like, this is the only chain mentality. Dude, it's been like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's been a freaking decade, and they're like, this is the only chain. I'm like, okay, you're going to tell me this 20 years from now, 30 years from now?
Yeah, right.
These chains are not leaving, So I don't know. It's funny shit to me, but yeah, I mean, sooner or later, we got to give up the ghost, So, but yeah, the Bitcoin community didn't give a shit about rare pepes, and I still don't think they give a shit now. So it's like, how behind are they? I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy shit.
Fucking A, man. Well, you're like we've said over and over, you're a legend of the space, and we're all lucky to have you. Honestly, like we're all extremely lucky to have you as, just a champion of the technology and the community. So I thank you personally and as the community. And I want to ask, is there anything you want to pump right now? You want to promote anything? Have you had a fucking drop or something? I don't know.
Buy our collab piece. The collab piece.
Okay. Fuck yeah. And I'm
there's
gonna
the shill.
Add that there's the shill, and I'm gonna add that you also have a playlist. Like we had ROBNESS put together a playlist for us. It was posted on our Instagram, or fucking Christ, I'm sorry. I was posted on our Twitter, yesterday. You can go check that out. Some good tracks, some deep cuts. Get in the mind of ROBNESS while you're working in the studio today.
Yeah, a good song.
Other than that, next week. Oh, it's a great playlist, man. You got Trap Majesty on there. That's my dude. Fuck yeah, bro. We really appreciate you. For everybody listening, we have an amazing week next week with Luna Akuda. So definitely stay tuned. That's going to be a packed week of some very cool shit. Who, you know, and she was also on the panel with us.
Yeah.
So full circle.
Yeah. Super cool.
All right.
Yes, I love you, man. Dude, this is great.
Honestly. Yo, get it. My headphones are literally dying right now. I just got the boop, 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 boop. Like, so there we go. 2 hours, 40 minutes, brother. I appreciate you deeply.
All right. Love you
Take
too,
it soon,
man.
bro.
Yeah.
Peace
FakeWhale gang.
FakeWhale.